for January 9th, 2020. And thank you all for attending, and a very special wish for the new year for 2020. We're going to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Miss Kathy if you would lead us on that this morning.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Always seems so appropriate to salute our flag first thing. If you'll join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 noon p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. I'll begin with our Commissioners' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. And I'll start with you, Commissioner Clark. Anything?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I got a phone call from one of the ranchers, and what happened was Trump made a decision on the sage hen and moved forward. It was challenged by the anti-American, liberal left, anti-ranchers, anti-farmers, and they convinced an Obama-era placed judge to go along with the old sage hen rules, which we all know are very bad. So at 10 o'clock today, there's a meeting at the extension office. Jake Tibbetts will be there. It may spawn another committee or another board, so we need to watch this really carefully.
Thank you. Commissioner Sparks?
Nothing.
I attended a hospital board meeting, and it was basically standard business. Nothing stood out.
Thank you. Commissioner Allen?
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. I had a couple quick meetings, actually yesterday. Again, I sit on the National Committee for NACO for our Justice and Public Safety, and they're getting ready with resolutions and watching the government and taking care of business there. Also had a LEDA meeting, and they've got a lot on their plate right now. There's a couple things that were coming up. They've approved the different pedestrian bike path, the looping paths, and some areas for that. And they're working with the school now to see if they can help us build the bike racks that would be going in there. They're also looking at perhaps a public park in the Hilltop area, so a lot of things that might be coming before us. On the NNRDA, the Northern Nevada Regional Development Authority, I had mentioned at one of the meetings we had approved for a very aggressive marketing campaign, actually, for the whole north. And that north also includes Ely, Eureka, and Austin, which is a little bit south of us, but all included. And the firm that we contracted with is out of Dallas, Texas. The CEO came over and spent 3 days touring the whole area. They started in Lovelock, which is our newest member, and went all across 80, all the way over to Wendover and Wells, and they also dropped down and did the Ely, Eureka, Austin. So he got firsthand, there was no feedback, he was typical CEO and very stone-faced, very, very nice, but he was taking it all in, which is a good thing to know exactly what region you're trying to promote. So that was kind of exciting. And I will move to staff reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Okay, recently we had another, I guess you could call it close call incident there at Highway at 305 in front of Maverick, which sparked a phone call to Mr. Bonner, Lee Bonner of NDOT, and also has sparked a meeting with Madonna and Pete. I can't remember Pete's last name, but he's one of the heads of the transportation. And we're gonna have that meeting tomorrow at 11:30 to try to discuss some options to try to clean up that area there and prevent any mishap or pedestrian getting hit. Met with BLM yesterday regarding the easement on the waterline loop project, and we're looking at anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to having that easement complete and in place. So that will fit clearly into our timelines. At your next meeting, you will be looking at a revised contract based on the litigation that's complete. Probably one of the bigger things that's coming forth for the county is our budget process. We'll be starting very soon. Packets have gone out, and we'll be looking at our budget workshop. I'm not gonna speak for Cindy, but I believe we're still looking at sometime in March. We're still looking at sometime in March, and we'll have more on that. That's what I have for now.
Thank you. Public comment. For non-agendized items only, persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend to make comments on any non-agenda item at the board meeting, if any, and discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comments based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. We have public comment this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much. My name is Jerry Annis, and I'm here as a representative, your representative from the Lander County Conservation District. I wanted to give you 2.5 minutes of update, a portion of which Commissioner Clark has already addressed. That meeting that's taking place today at the Extension Office will run from 10 till 4 o'clock. If any of you are, if your meetings are over by 4, and if any of you are interested, you're more than welcome to be there. What that is actually it's a work session for what is called, I have to read my notes, the South Central Adaptive Management Response Team, which is advising the state SET, which is Sagebrush Ecosystem Technical Team, to put together the next year's Nevada State Greater Sage Grouse Conservation Plan. And what it is it's the state actually trying to be proactive and be ready for anything that may be evaluated by the federal government, and to show that we are indeed addressing this issue ourselves. The meeting today the workshop is open to the public, but I know that and the South Central team is the South Central area basically includes Lander and Eureka counties. That's why Jake Tibbetts from the Eureka County Natural Resources Board is running the meeting. So if you have any input, there'll be ranchers there, federal and state representatives, and should be a good meeting. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that Conservation District-wise, our monthly meeting is this coming Tuesday. I believe it's the 14th at 5:30 at the Extension Office, and we will be discussing applications that we have, pending applications that we have for habitat enhancement in Lander County. And again, anyone of you that's interested is more than welcome to be there. Any questions? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for the update, and thank you for serving on that. We are moving on to the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Anna.
Anna Panola with the Building Department. I want to thank you guys and Ted and Keith for helping me get the codes adopted. I got a letter from ISO. We kept our rating as a 4, and commercial went down to a 3.
Nice. Good.
So thank you guys.
Thank you for all your work.
Okay, no more public comment? All right, consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine, may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action, without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's Office for viewing, and copies are available at a nominal charge. Number 1, approval of the January 9th, 2020 agenda notice. Number 2, approval of July 11th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 3, approval of July 25th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 4, approval of August 8th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 5, approval of October 10th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 6, approval of October 24th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 7, approval of November 7th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 8, approval of November 25th, 2019 special meeting minutes. Number 9, approval of December 5th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 10, approval of December 19th, 2019 meeting minutes. And number 11, approval of the payment of bills. We do need to pull number 1 on the agenda. I need to amend that. Number 2, the July 11th meeting minutes are in and okay unless anybody has any corrections. The rest of the minutes were not received. And that brings us to number 11, the approval of the payment of bills, which I will pull. So right now, to approve the consent agenda, it would be actually for number 2, the July 11th meeting minutes only.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. And it's been moved and seconded, we approve the consent agenda. And all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It brings us up to number 1, the approval of July 9th agenda notice. And I do want to pull one, and that will be number 8. Is that right? Okay, so we're pulling number 8. We'll amend the agenda and not include that. So I need a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Brian, seconded by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. That brings us down to the approval of the payment of bills. And on that, we're going to pull out some checks. We need to pull check number 206011, 206018, 206101, 206196, 206098, 206127. 6 checks we're pulling. If I can have a motion for approval of the balance of the payment of bills.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Kathy made the motion, Brian second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you, and that passes. So the next one I'm pulling will be check number 206011, which is travel expenses for Commissioner Allen. So if I can have a motion, we approve the rest.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Brian, second by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll abstain.
Thank you. And aye, okay. Everybody voted on that one? It was so soft, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, and that one passes. The next one is on Brian. And Commissioner Sparks will pull number 206018, 206101, and 206196 for your employer. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
payments to my employer.
Okay. Motion to approve the balance.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Art. Kathy made the motion, Art seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain.
Thank you. Aye for me, and that passes. And the other 2 checks are from my travel and expenses, 206098 and 206127.
I'll
Go
make
ahead.
a motion to approve this.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Made by Brian, seconded by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I abstain. Thank you. That takes care of our payment of bills. So very first, on our first New Year's here, is under Commissioner for possible action to elect a chairman and vice chairman to the Lander County Board of Commissioners for the 2020 calendar year, and nominations are open.
I nominate Brian Sparks as chairman.
I'll second that.
Honestly, guys, I don't have time to be chairman. I appreciate it, but I don't have the time to do it.
Okay.
Just,
Thank you, Brian. We still have a motion on the floor, even if they opt not to, so legally, what do I need to do?
He can pull the motion.
Brian can pull the motion?
Art can.
Well, Art can, yeah,
Because Brian turned it down? Yeah, I'll
Yes.
withdraw.
okay, thank you.
Judy withdraws her second.
Yeah,
Judy
yeah,
pulls the
yeah.
second.
Do I need to withdraw also?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Because we have a legal motion on the floor, we need to do something, okay? All right,
I'll make a motion, we, make Kathy our chair.
I'll second the motion. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, that we have Kathy as our new chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay?
Nay.
Well, we don't have the three to carry it, so it goes nowhere, right? It's solid,
Does it stay with you?
okay?
So it stays with you?
No,
Stay put.
can't stay with me.
No,
I'm
Kathy,
over.
Kathy, you can
Kath-
vote.
Kathy can vote.
For myself?
Oh, yeah, she can vote.
Yeah.
Patsy voted for herself last time.
You know, you can vote for yourself.
All right, I'll vote yay. It's unnerving.
Okay, it passes with 3 votes. And Kathy is our new chair. Do I go on with vice chair, or do I let her do the vice chair then?
No, I think you should finish this one out. You opened this, you should.
Okay, thank you. Nominations are open for vice chair.
I'll
Can
make
I-
a motion, we make our vice chair.
No, I don't want it. You know what? Okay, you nominate me, it passes, I'll take it.
You don't want to be vice chair?
I'm looking for a second.
Just grab that pen, just right.
All right.
Okay,
All right, I'll second.
okay, Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded. All those in favor for Art for vice chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Art,
Yeah, I'll vote for myself.
okay. That's 3, and I'll include my aye for 4. Any nays?
Nay?
Thank you. And that passes. Kathy is our chair and Art is our vice chair for 2020. And I will pass the gavel over to Miss Ancho.
All right, so then we're going to go on to item number 2. Says, for possible action and approval, disapproval, bylaws, rules, and procedures that allow the deliberative assembly, Lander County Commissioners, to make its decision fairly and effectively by majority rule, but with all due regard for the rights of the minority. These bylaws include, but are not limited to the following. Number 1, members are to raise their hands when no one else has the floor. The chair will recognize the member by name, allowing them to obtain the floor. Members are required to obtain the floor before making motions or speaking. Number 2, motions shall be seconded. Number 3, there is no limit to the number of times a member can speak to a question, and motions to close or limit debate generally should not be entertained. Number 4, informal discussion of the subject is permitted while no motion is pending. Number 5, the chair can debate after others have spoken and votes last. This allows her summarized discussion to remain more impartial. All members of the board will show courtesy and respect to other members of the board and to the public in attendance, whether a participant or not, and a violation of which can lead to expulsion and removal of violating member by the chair without motion, who can direct an acting sergeant at arms to remove the offending member from the meeting. The courtesy and respect that must be shown to other members of the board and to all others in the audience members. Participants or not pursuant to this section shall also include members' behavior in a non-public setting toward other board members and to all other Lander County employees. All members of the audience, whether participant or not, shall show courtesy and respect to all members of the board and other audience members, and a violation of which may lead the chair without motion to ask the acting sergeant of arms to remove the offender from the proceedings. Members of the board who violate section 6 of this bylaw may be subject to censor proceedings if he or she is egregious or shows a pattern of behavior. The board, by majority vote, may censor the offender member violation of section 6 of these bylaws after proper notice to the alleged offending party, and a public hearing in which evidence will be held, has been held within the alleged violator has the opportunity to rebut said evidence. If the majority of the board believes the violator of section 6 has occurred, they may censor offending members. Censor is a proceeding that allows for a strong recommendation of formal disapproval by resolution after the majority vote of the board to enact censor, the hope to altering behavior in public meetings and towards the public employees, and should result in the offending member of the engaging in the interacting with the victim of this behavior in all future matters in a professional context. So.
So my only question on this, Ted, is can a chairperson limit, I mean, like, basically we're initiating power to the chairperson, but if I wanna speak on a certain subject, and if she elects not to recognize me, can she refrain me from speaking? I mean, that's my concern with this.
The recognition is part, when the chair calls an agenda item to order, that's the procedural step wherein it's more formal and people should be recognized. Between the agendas numbers, when you're not speaking of anything that has been noticed, you can talk informally about any subject you want. And it's also important to know that if the chair makes a move, wants to kick somebody out, whatever, any other member of the board can make a motion to overrule the chair's decision, and by a majority vote, with 3 votes, the rest of the board can overrule the chairman on any aspect, anything he does, or she does. So this is just, Rule 1 through 5 come right out of the Robert rules for small boards.
Right.
And they're more lenient than Robert's rules for larger boards. Robert's rules contemplate boards with over 20 members. And so they have to have real formal things. This is for small boards, and the recognition part of it is it's necessary to get business conducted when you call the agenda items. In between agenda items, you don't have to be recognized.
Gotcha.
It's more informal.
But they get to, regardless, they get to speak as many times as they want, correct? On
Yes,
something?
as many
Yeah, I
times
mean,
as you
that's-
want.
Well, is it as many times as you want, or as many times as makes sense? Because we've had people dictate the meeting from the audience by virtue of literally jumping up and down.
That shouldn't be condoned.
Not what?
That should not be condoned. What I'm talking about is the board members itself in discussion. You can, as the notice points out, you can limit a person to 3 minutes on any audience member.
Yeah, because Clark County will have school board meetings, or Washoe County will have commissioner meetings. You'll have 100 people want to speak for 3 minutes.
Right.
You just can't do that.
No,
You have to have authority to move along, to
no,
move forward.
and that's what the chair does. The chair moves it along. I mean, when there's an argument and people start repeating themselves, and that's what happened in most arguments, the chair needs to shut that down and suggest that this has already been heard and the point's been taken, and the chair can say, you know, you've had your 3 minutes,
Time to move along.
time to move on, unless there's something new you have to say.
Well, I do know at the other meetings that we have, that have a lot more members, like you said, NACO has, 15, 20 people there at least or more, and yes, we do a recognition. We couldn't have everybody trying to talk at once, and you never know when somebody else is going to try and talk. In the larger ones, we actually take our nameplates and we put them on edge. So when you're looking out at 50 people, you see which ones, and you're recognized again by the chair. And there is a need, absolutely. I guess I certainly considered it when I was chair and how we were going to do it, and because we're so small, and not just the numbers, but because of where we are. I guess it's a very small county, and so I didn't implement that and chose not to. I have to go along with our new chair if she would like us to do that. I think that we should very definitely look at what some of the other counties have, and that is the microphones where you push it on to go on and then push it off. And our system here has really been obsolete since it started, so I assume we're gonna be looking at new equipment. Okay, I'll acquiesce.
I mean, the main point on this is that when a person's recognized, they have an opportunity to say what they want to say, what they wish to say without interruption. And that's the main point. Now, if you want to modify these, I tried to be as lenient as I could as far as formalizing any large set of rules. But if you don't like one or want to modify it, go ahead. It's your bylaws.
And I think one of the other issues is why we can't get our minutes back is because we have everybody talking over the top of each other, and she can't hear who, the transcriber, whether it be in the audience or out here, she can't hear who's talking because everybody jumping over what the other person's trying to say. So the way I look at it is the person gets to finish what they have to say, and then, the next person can, without, I have said before, without beating a dead horse over and over and over, saying the same thing, give it an advantage for somebody else to be able to say what they need to say clearly. Without being interrupted, regardless if it's us or the public or, so there's civility into the way that we run it, so, and to also to try to keep tempers down, because as soon as somebody jumps into somebody else, we've all done it, it automatically agitates you. And so to try to keep that to a minimum, I think that it would be a good idea.
Well, I'll make a motion that we pass agenda item number 2.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, you should open it to discussion
Oh.
first, Chair.
So, okay, well, I thought that we were already
Right,
discussing, but all right, sorry about that. It's gonna take me a little time to learn this,
No,
so I'm
that's
sorry, I'm
okay,
not
but
trying to
after
jump
a
out of.
motion's made-
So we'll open it up for discussion for everyone to make sure everybody has to
Right.
say.
You'd say that there's a motion on the floor,
Okay, so
moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
all right, so it's moved and seconded, so we'll open for discussion. All right. So we can move on,
Yep.
okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Nay.
Nay.
All right. So that carries, passes. Okay.
I have a question. Sadie Sullivan for the record. On that, are we okay to have it to where Kathy does reiterate the yeas and the nays? I mean, like Kathy said, it'll take a little bit, but that way it's picked up clearly for the record.
Yeah,
Are we okay with that?
that's a good idea, so if you Kathy, if you just said there's been 3 nays, or 2 nays and 3 ayes,
Oh, okay.
and the motion carries, that'll help the record.
So yes, it's gonna, like I said, it'll take me a little while. You guys will probably be,
That's fine.
Thank you.
This is your first one.
so for someone who doesn't like to speak in public, woof. So, right. All right, so going on to item number 3. For possible action and appoint the Lander County Commissioners to the following various 2020 advisory boards. All right, A, Category 1, Lander County Board of Equalization.
I currently sit on that, and I'd like to continue to sit on that if possible.
So, do we have, okay, Judy,
I'll make a motion that we approve Brian Sparks, Commissioner Sparks, as the representative for the Lander County Board of Equalization.
do we have a second?
Yeah, second, I'll second that.
He said, I have a question.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you. Just in the interest of most certainly time and all of our minutes, can we just take each category and maybe approve the category at it all at once?
And also, you have to read the whole agenda item.
okay, you don't go with the one by one? Do you-
No, you should it's all listed under number
Okay,
3.
all right.
You should probably, and then you decide if you want to, as Patsy says, you decide if you want to go by categories. It
Okay,
would be more
all right, guys,
efficient.
I'm
So
sorry.
you need to read the whole thing.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead, so, all right. Category 1, Lander County Board of Equalization. Number 2, Lander County Conservation and Tourism Authority. Number 3, Lander County Debt Management Commission. Number 4, Lander County Planning Commission. Number 5, Lander County Regional Transportation Commission. Category B, number 2, Lander County Advisory Board to Manage Wildlife. C, number 3, Austin Airport Board Authority, Battle Mountain Livestock Event Center Advisory Board, Local Emergency Planning Commission, Lander County Economic Development Authority, Lander County Public Lands Use Advisory Planning Commission, D, Category 4, Lander County Conservation District, number 2, Lander County Hospital District, 3, Lander County Safety Committee. Number 4, Central Nevada Regional Water Authority. Number 5, Department of Energy Board of Representation. Number 6, Humboldt River Basin Water Authority. 7, State Land Use Planning Advisory Committee. 8, Nevada Association of Counties. 9, Nevada Works. And 10, Pool Pack. So, we'll go back by sections, is that what we're doing?
Categories.
By categories?
Yes, we have category A.
Okay, all right, so, category 1 for the Lander County Board of Equalization.
Brian Sparks.
Which I'm sitting on that now.
Okay, for a second.
Well, actually, we're gonna go through them all, and then we'll make a
Same.
motion on the
Yeah.
category.
Okay,
there.
okay, I'm sorry, you guys, so Lander, the Lander County Conservation and Tourism,
Convention.
Convention and Tourism, excuse me, I sit on that board right now.
And I'm an alternate too, which I'm fine with keeping it if that's,
Okay, me as well. Lander County, Debt Management Commission,
I sit on that, I'll continue to sit on it.
okay. Lander County, Planning Commission,
We're not showing, excuse me,
We
you're
don't,
fine.
yeah, we don't,
we don't
You're
have
fine.
a
It's all right, go ahead.
commissioner on that.
So we don't have a commissioner on that currently?
Right,
we voted and took that off.
right.
Okay, so, all right. So, the Lander County Regional Transportation Commission? You sit on that?
I'm okay if Commissioner Allen,
I'd like to continue sitting on that.
so would I, so.
Okay, very good. So we'll go ahead and now,
And I sit on it as an alternate,
Okay.
and I'll keep that.
so, we'll go ahead and take a vote for the whole, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna make a motion that we approve the category 1 advisory boards as discussed.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 No nays, okay, so it passes. All right. Category 2, Lander County Advisory Board of, to manage wildlife. You s-
We don't have a commissioner on that board.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, it's gonna take me a little while to get, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say the same thing, it's
Yeah,
okay.
Okay, all right, so category 3, Austin Airport Advisory Board. You're on that one?
I'm happy to serve on that one,
Okay, very good.
again.
So, all right, thanks. Jesus, sorry, guys, what a nightmare here right here. Battle Mountain Livestock Event Center Advisory Board.
So I am recently the commissioner on that. I'd like to stay if possible.
Okay. Local,
So do we,
okay.
so we need an alternate to that one? On the Livestock Event Center or Livestock Board, is that right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I will, I'll serve as an alternate, that's
All
fine.
right. Did you have something else?
No,
Okay,
no, that's not.
okay. Local Emergency Planning Commission?
So I currently sit on that. I'll continue.
All right. Does there need to be an alternate for it?
You are.
You are the
Am I?
alternate.
You are?
Am I? Sorry. I have never been called for that, so there, so, all right. Lander County Economic Development. Who sits on that?
I sat on that one last year, if anybody from Battle Mountain would like to sit on it, because there's a lot that goes on locally, you might need some more local input. If not, I'll.
No, that's fine, I don't have a problem sitting on it if everybody else has too many, that's fine.
Okay, and it does, we do need an alternate, Brian.
Would you like to be the alternate, Patsy?
You wanna take it?
No, I said, do you want to be the alternate? I was the alternate last year.
Right, but who's gonna take that? Kathy, you'll take that?
Yes,
Okay, then I'll be the alternate.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
all right, so Lander County Public Land Use Advisory Planning Commission?
I'm still on that, we don't have, we need one more volunteer to have a board.
Oh. So they don't have a board yet, so do we need an alternate on that?
I think that's,
That's a public member, I
Right.
believe.
Okay.
So they need one more from the public.
Okay, to finish their board.
which we have that, oh, we took that off today, didn't we?
All right, so, go ahead.
I'll make a motion, we approve the category 3 advisory boards as discussed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So, category, D, category 4. All right, so Lander County Conservation District.
I currently serve on it.
Oh, you're all right staying?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm on
you're
it.
all right staying as a, okay. Lander County Hospital, oh, go ahead.
Okay, just for the record, because I don't know if you're getting all this, so Brian's gonna continue and I will be the alternate.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So, Lander County Hospital District, I currently sit on that, and I'm fine with that. I don't know if there is,
Brian's alternate.
Brian's the alternate?
Yeah,
All
I
right,
can
you
stay.
all right with that? So. let's see. Lander County Safety Committee,
When we have meetings.
so, are you all right staying on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Central Nevada Regional Water Authority, I sit on that board.
I would like to continue.
Okay, so, Department of Energy Board of Representatives.
Representatives.
Representatives. Where are we? Wait one second. So Patsy,
We haven't been active. There was a time when I first started that we were extremely active with some of our meetings and such. But we haven't been, but you never know, so I'm happy to represent that and continue.
okay, so,
And
all
I'll stay as the alternative.
right, very good. Humboldt River Basin Water Authority, I currently sit on that as well, and I'm all right staying.
I would like to stay.
All right. State Land Use Planning Advisory Committee.
Yeah, I'm good there. I've already sent all my paperwork in.
All right,
Well, and that's actually, it's a four-year appointment, so he's,
all right. All right, so Nevada Association of Counties.
I would like to do that this year. I've been here for 5 years, and my understanding that NACO is going to be very pro Second Amendment, and being the point person for Second Amendment in Lander County, I'd really like to be there. I think I could represent the county very well.
and I would like to continue to be on that.
Go ahead.
May I just add, regardless of who's our representative, it's open to all of our members, all of the time. You're all welcome to come for input, so.
And you definitely, Patsy, since you're a past president, are entitled to go to it.
Yeah. Okay, just making sure.
Well, so, let me ask Patsy a question on this. With an alternate, are they voting members as well?
No, not the alternate.
Okay, so, we'll have to make a motion to decide who would be the voting member of
So,
NACO.
when we go through that, do we, as a
can
group,
set
we'll
that
set
separate.
that one, pull that one out? Okay. So, pool pack,
I'm sorry, what happened in May?
we'll pull,
Pull number 8 out.
we're gonna pull number,
Section.
8, we're gonna pull number 8 out for discussion. So, hold on, so pool pack,
Then you're on,
so Nevada Works,
Yeah, I've got that.
all right, is there, there's no alternate? I'm fine with being an alternate. And then pool pack, and there doesn't look like an alternate, so, all right.
excuse me, Judy took pool back?
Unless you want it.
No, that's fine, I wasn't sure what was happening.
Okay, I'm sorry, and I'm not talking loud enough, so yes,
Well,
I'm
you had
sorry.
your back turned
And I'm
too.
sorry.
And
Pool
all I
pack.
heard, I saw her now, but I didn't know which way, thank you.
So, all right, so for poll pack for Judy Allen, all right, so then, is number 8 the one we're gonna pull out?
You need to do the rest of them first, and then you can take
I
your
can't
break.
hear you, Ted, I'm sorry, what?
Do the rest of that section.
Isn't poll pack the last one?
No, we're
Right,
gonna take
no.
a vote on
I'll make a
category
motion,
4, and with 8 removed.
I will make a motion that we approve the category 4 advisory boards excluding, number 8, Nevada Association of Counties,
I'll second that motion.
as discussed.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, the motion carries, so then,
Go back to 8.
so we're gonna go back to, the Nevada Association of Counties for discussion.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that I be appointed as the voting member for the Nevada Association of Counties, representing Lander County.
Do we have a second?
So we have
She-
her
yeah,
and
she-
Art on the board?
She's asking to be the voting member.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? No? I'm just making sure. All right.
Yeah.
Did he, I just wanna make sure you can hear, all in favor?
I can't hear you.
That's what I thought,
Yeah,
that's what I
Is
thought.
there any discussion?
Is there any discussion? Okay,
no.
all right,
I already said what I wanted to say.
okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. So are we all done?
So I'll make a motion that we, we've already done it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, so,
I have a question on that.
all right,
Thanks, Alvin, I'm kind of clear for the record. I have Judy as the voting member, and then our alternate is who?
Art.
Art.
It is Art.
Yes.
Okay, was that in the motion?
Yes. Or was,
Actually, no, it
I
wasn't.
I don't believe it was in the motion.
No.
I think it was only a motion to have Judy, Brian seconded, and if we could have a motion for the alternate, is that correct legally?
Right, we need to have a motion made for Art to be on.
I'll make the motion that Art be alternate for NACO.
Okay, thank you.
all right, so do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, moving on to number 4, J&M Material Testing LLC for possible action to approve, disapprove a contract presented by J&M Material Testing LLC to provide work on county projects for inspections and material testing with a presentation by Dawn Nettie Quintana detailing her scope of work and possible cost savings to the county.
Morning, Ed.
Good morning, Nettie.
Nettie Quintana for the record. I'm just gonna go through this packet that I gave you guys for a little bit and try to explain to you what I do. And that way we could get hopefully something going. The first couple pages, I put these in here for a reason because it kind of explains what the engineers do and like my part to it. But for me to, what I'd like to do is just simplify it. So basically, the client hires an engineer. An engineer, they design this project. The project gets turned into the state. Once it's approved by the state, you get a contractor. What I do is I make sure the contractor builds to what the engineer has designed. And I prove that through my records. And I'm gonna go through here and I'm gonna show you a little bit. I tried to minimize it a little bit. I tried to make it smaller so it makes sense a little bit. But first, so through those emails, that's what that was starting to say, the A&M engineering and the engineering. So past that, I'd like to talk about me for a little bit. I have 20 years experience of doing materials testing, inspecting, engineering technician, and resident engineer. They all kind of combine. I hold an RSO license. That's a radiation safety officer. This means that I could use a nuclear density gauge in the field, so I could go out and test, and I could give them the result right then, instead of waiting for, there's another test that you do that you have to wait overnight. Materials testing is not a common trade. It takes experience, and nobody can just go and buy the equipment and say, okay, I'm gonna test this. You have to understand what's actually going on in the field and what the engineer's asking for to provide your results. All testing that I do is completed by the ASTM, that's ASTM standards. What that means is there's books that the engineers have to go through, they have to go by. And every little test that I do goes directly along with the ASTM standards. All my laboratory equipment and nuclear gauge, it is calibrated by a third party. I can calibrate a lot of my equipment, except for the nuke gauge, but I would rather have the third party do it. That way, there's no questions asked. Yes, my equipment's good. I've provided the service from Washington to Arizona to as far as Zarafshan, Uzbekistan. And I decided that I wanted to come home and do it here. I'm very good at what I do. And to provide this service here in Battle Mountain, that's a dream for me. I'm highly respected in the construction industry. I'm as local as it gets. I was born in Battle Mountain and I was raised in Battle Mountain. I'm a resident and I pay Lander County taxes. I'm a woman-owned, woman-ran business and the only one to provide a service in Lander County and Humboldt counties. Material testing, that's my livelihood. This is how I survive. Materials testing is a requirement on all projects for the state. Everybody else, I guess I should say, that comes in and does the materials testing from not Lander County, they get paid 5%, and that's industry standards. What I did for the first fiscal year that I worked, the only fiscal year that I worked, is I came in at 2.9%. So what I did for this county, I saved the county $188,000 just by coming in at 2.9%. What you would have paid somebody else that doesn't live here, that doesn't raise, or isn't a resident, doesn't pay taxes, it's $433,000 is what you would have paid them for somebody that doesn't live here. I'm not asking for that. There's a question saying that, you know, that if I've had other people ask me that if I've worked for other people, and yes I have. Here's a list of them. The Johns there in Paradise Valley, Humboldt County with Roger Sutton, NV Energy, Forbes Construction, they're the ones that built the little plug-ins for your cars at the Colt. Amped Out, 3D Concrete, Honeywell Construction, AM Engineering, Javier Rivera, Norm Sweeney, and Joe Condor. Those are all different clients that I've worked for. So that way, you know, there's no question I'm just here to work for Lander County. That's not my point. On the bottom of this, you can see that I have a bunch of references, and you'll see a lot of these names the same, or they'll change up a little bit, but you know, anybody can call them at any point. The next 3 pages, this is my resume, and I could go through this. It kind of speaks for itself, but if I were to tell you quality control for earthworks, HDPE liner, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to people, but if you were in construction, this really would. So it speaks for itself. That's these next 3 pages. So next what I wanted to do is, I kind of wanted to explain a little bit as to what I have to do daily. This first page says daily field summary number 2. What I do is I go out in the field and I report every day what happens. So you can see, like if you looked in here, Honeywell continued to produce base material. I'll go through each one of the things that everybody does, whether it be a roller, a water truck, or just any kind of conversation I have with the contractor, anything. That's all reported in this report. And then I also add pictures. So on this report, you can see that I highlighted April 8th. I want you to remember that. And you can see that I had added pictures, so that it's easier for everybody to see, okay, yes, they did do that. Yeah, that smooth drum was doing its job. They did have a water truck. That way it just makes it easier for everybody. If you look on 4 of 4 of my daily report, you can see my truck sitting there, and it says the downstream end of the culvert, station 433+00. That's another number I want you to remember. But when I just got done testing right there, and the engineer had called, and he wanted me to take a picture of the downstream of that culvert, because it means something to them. They want to make sure that that's flowing. That's kind of the things that I do. I'm their eyes, I'm their ears. That's what I do for the projects, okay? So you can see station 433+00. Okay, that's gonna be important. These next pages, this is me getting a sample. So this is all stuff that I run in the lab. Not all of it, this is a part of what I run in the lab. So I've talked to the contractor before, and they said, I'm gonna use this material to backfill that culvert where my truck was sitting. So I ran a gradation, and every one of these little numbers, they mean something. I ran a proctor, and these numbers right here, these are gonna mean something. It's telling me my density and, well, it's telling the contractor the density and moisture that they have to have to pass, to keep on going, to keep on building that road, to do whatever. That's very important. And the next one, that's an Atterberg limits. That tells you exactly the clay, how much clay. Some materials you need clay, sometimes you don't. So that's what these are, but they're all highlighted. It's all PB1-C. It was taken from the stockpile that they told me they were gonna use that material. So that's important, okay? This is a table that I turned into the engineer that gets turned into the state to make sure that this is all approved. So this highlighted line is showing every one of those numbers. So everybody has to see these numbers, and they all make sense. And there's my proctor, and there's the gradation, and there's the Atterberg, okay? So that's that. And the next one, there's one nuke density. That one line. So I go out there and I take that test and I say, Honeywell, you're passing, you're failing. So you could go through all of my paperwork and you could see that it's at station 433+00. It is PB1C. The density in the lab is 134.4. It's 8% moisture, and this is what so that's one example of what I do. The next 10 pages is the rest of that project. So if you look at all of these pages, I went through one number. All of these pages is something that I have to keep track of, and I do it. And I think I do a pretty good job. All of these. That's one project. That's the Austin roads. SR 12, 14, and 15. Okay, I just put those in there so you can see exactly how much. The next thing is just reference letters that I wanted you guys to see. A couple of them are from people that I worked with. A couple of them, or some of them are people in the community that are supporting me, supporting business, supporting local business. So I wanted you to see all of those. Brian Ulrich, I worked with him. Lolly, I went overseas with her. I got Carta Burton, she's a close friend of mine, but she supports our community. Amy and Colt Nelson. They have a great letter in here. Kim Delgado. I'm not quite sure what this is. This kind of got snuck in there. It's not mine. Harry Dimitrov. Good friend of mine. Kathy Hewitt. Kathy Sink. Right? Kathy Hewitt. Hers would be printed, but she had a family thing. James Holland. Business owner. Grace Powry. Grace Kemp. These are all people that are close to me that want to support me. And I hope you guys realize that. Melina Castellanos. These are all great people. Our community, that's who that is. The next pages is a contract that I wrote up. And it's 7 pages, and it's just to protect me and the county. It's not asking for anything but 3% of the cost. That's all it is. So I'm hoping that maybe you guys can consider that.
I have a question. Question for you, Nettie.
Mm-hmm.
So, just so I'm clear, so if we were using an engineer, they would pay that 5%. If there was a failure because of something that was not tested properly or blah, they would take care of that. Now, if we do a contract with you, who would be responsible if something did fail because of testing nature?
I directly work for the engineer, so all of my results go to the engineer. So that's, if there was something to fail, it would
So
still
you're
come
still
back.
working?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I
Oh,
got
yeah.
it. I see. Okay.
I'm just the middleman,
I got
basically.
Thank you. Nellie, let me assure you, first of all, we did go through your information.
Okay.
I have no problem with your qualifications, or certainly with your reputation and experience and the type of individual, so thank you. My concern is actually doing a separate contract and starting that. I am just assuming here, but since the engineer is the one who has been choosing, you have been chosen by the engineer on many different projects.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm okay with letting that go like it is. And if they use you, we're gonna save some money, and that's very apparent.
You'll pay them 5%.
But I have a real problem contracting. I know it's professional, so we don't really have to go out and advertise, because it's an entirely different thing. But on the other hand, if we were going to do a contract for this, I almost think it's something that we might want to look at some other contracts too, from some other people, if they would be interested in. So my problem is certainly not with you individually at all, but with the idea that we would step out and do a contract individually at this time.
Question. Chief, so if we entertain this contract, based on the dollar, there would be a dollar amount to it, or obviously I guess where I'm going is, would we have to entertain other?
So if we go
People.
directly, if we stay with the engineer, we are gonna pay 5%.
Right, I understand that.
If we go with the contract, Nettie's saying that it would be 3% would be the cap.
No, I understand that. You understand what I'm asking, Ted?
I do.
So,
If,
I got a question.
hold on a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Repeat the last part of your question.
Well, if we sign a contract with Nettie, but we've not given others the opportunity, if it's over a certain amount,
Okay.
to be able to bid it, that's my question.
You don't have to put it out to bid.
Okay,
It's it, so you can go, if you wanna save the 2%.
right,
And that's what this whether it's Nettie or anyone else, anyone local, because if you wanna save 2% across the board right now, you would go for a contract.
Yeah.
This contract, she's asking for a 1-year contract at this point in time. And what that would do, we would have to change the contractual language in our contracts with the engineers, because Nettie would be her company would be the tester for all our projects for 1 year, and it would save us 2%.
I've got a question. I don't think I can make a motion that I want with the language that's here, and what I would like to do is make a motion that we not preclude Nettie's business from work in Lander County. Would that cover everything?
Well, I don't think we are precluding her right now, because it's the engineers who pick the tester. If we engaged in conduct where we insinuated or inferred to the engineers that Nettie's company shouldn't be used, then we are liable for a lawsuit.
No, what I'm saying is, to preclude her from working in Lander County, to prohibit her from working in Lander County, because there's no reason that she can't work for the county. But that seems to be the burning issue.
I think this issue's in front of the Ethics Commission, and that's the problem. It's, the council for the county on that does not want to entertain this.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean we can't. So this is an approach from a company who says, I will save you 2% across the board if you'd engage in a contract with me for a year. And that's what this is all about.
And
Can
also-
we do it? Absolutely, we can.
Also, I'd like for the record, how long have I known you, Nettie? I never knew that your first name was Dawn. But I'll say
I did
this,
have a hard time in school with
as
that.
long as I knew Nettie, from being a little girl all the way to being a full-grown woman and a business person, I have never heard one negative thing about her until just recently. She is an outstanding kid from town who went through our high school, played sports, and decided to come back here because she loves Battle Mountain and Lander County.
So I have something to
That's
say
what I
real
have
quick,
to say.
and then I'll- my concern is that we have this in front of ethics, an issue right now. So my suggestion is that we, ask the ethics board for an opinion, which will take 45 days on this. It's a quick turnaround. We can, ask our county manager to get that submitted, let them tell us what they think as far as, because we have a pending issue, I don't want to, that issue to come back to bite us in the bottom, and then they turn around and say, why did you enter into a contract when you already have a pending issue? So, for safety, on all of our behalfs, that we ask him to get that submitted, we see what the ethics board says on it, because I think that you do a wonderful job, and but I also wanna protect the county as well, and I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and so my suggestion would be that we put this opinion, which is, like I said, 45 days from the time we get it submitted, and let them tell us if we should do this or shouldn't do it, because if you're still able to work under the contractor and we have to pay the extra 2%, while this is going through, then we pay the extra 2%, but we make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So that's a suggestion.
If you proceed in that way, just for the record, it should be understood that Lander County is not interfering with the engineers on who they pick for these projects.
Yeah.
Because that's what our contractual arrangement is
Yeah.
right now. So we can't be, because then we'll be liable for a lawsuit on business interference.
So are we able to tell them who they can and can't use at this point?
Well, I should hope not,
Okay, all right.
because
One
we
second.
shouldn't be.
Okay, one second. Do you want,
Ted?
Yes.
okay, 1 second. Do you want to speak?
So I want to kind of make a clarification. It has nothing to do with you, Nettie, or your business. The ethics complaint does not, it's not against the business. And I want you to know that. I know you are very good at your job, and I support you, honestly. I do feel that, typically in most contracts, or most projects, the testing company is hired by the engineer. And I really feel we should continue to let the engineer choose the testing company. And even though it is a savings to the county of the 2% per se, it separates the owner from Lander County being the owner to the engineer and the contractor and whatnot. It's transparency. It's clear cut of what happens. I absolutely, if the engineer chooses to use your company, I support it 100%. I think the billing should go through the contract, or through the engineer's service, should be part of their contract to provide. I realize that does add a little bit of a cost, but it also, as I said, it makes things very clear. And again, as far as making things clear, I never said we can't use you guys. That wasn't my decision. That was recommended by the, legal counsel.
Not this legal counsel.
No,
Yeah.
right.
No,
And also,
point taken.
I also, Kathy, I don't believe you can get an opinion from the Ethics Commission without, I mean, Nettie could get an opinion. She could write and get an opinion, I think.
The statute has changed. The county can now,
Okay,
as
okay.
of January
So I-
1st, ask
oh.
for an opinion.
So,
But again,
For the ethics, not for the Attorney General, but the ethics.
right, so, you know, I would support using you guys if it goes through the engineer. The other thing that does is you answer to the engineer.
As I always do.
Your invoices go through and are approved through the engineer. Is, you know, you are answering directly to them. The engineer chooses you, they use you, you work for them.
One question, just to clarify something. Judy had made the comment that, so as far as Lander County's ownership of the project, just to clarify, we're the owner at all points in times on every project, correct?
Yes.
Rather we use an engineer or we do a contract with Nettie, is that correct?
That is correct,
Okay,
yes.
just wanted to make sure.
Well, I understand everybody's concerns, but I'm gonna make a motion that we do this because I don't want Nettie to wait 9 weeks to be working. We all agree she does a great job, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion for J&M Material Testing LLC, provide work for Lander County projects and inspections and material testing, hired through the engineer,
Pursuant to the contract that Nettie submitted.
pursuant to the contract that Nettie submits.
So let me ask you this, Ted, so you said that we could do that, so let's say we do that, and then we get a ruling back from ethics that says it's, that we shouldn't be doing it. Is there an out,
Yeah.
30-day out in the contract, which we could do?
Well, there's not an out in the contract, but it would be a impossibility. If it's a legal impossibility for us to proceed with the contract, we can certainly get out of the contract. And I'm sure Nettie would agree with that.
There's a clause in there
Yeah.
that says it.
And then, so, if we were to engage in a contract and ethics comes back and says you shouldn't be doing that, what's gonna happen?
Then the contract would be dissolved by mutual agreement.
But
There's a
we're
clause
still
in
in,
there.
we're
She
still
has
in safe harbor.
Okay.
So, first of all, I don't think the Ethics Commission is gonna come back and say you can't use a company.
No, they wouldn't.
That is not their determination. That's not what this is about.
No, it's not.
It has
about-
nothing to do with this. So they're not gonna come back and say that. Our legal counsel through Poolpack is the one that made the recommendation. Just so everybody's clear on that, is it wasn't Lander County and it wasn't the Ethics Commission, it was our legal counsel. I do have some questions about the contract. Ted, have you reviewed everything through it? And,
Yes, I've read it.
So, item number 18, mutual confidentiality, is, you know, a little bit more kind of explanation on some of this, although we do have to be careful about what's available to the public. Is we are very transparent. We are required to be for the public. So, you know, there are certain documents that you can't not disclose. You know, it all has to be available under public records.
And then weekly, what I do, or daily, actually, what I do is I turn in every daily report, every test that we have that's completed, every day. So we're just as transparent as anything. You can
Well-
come to the lab and see it written in pen, because we don't write in pencil, because you can erase that, right? Written in pen, to the computer, to what we turn in, to the client, to the engineer, to the contractors, whatever. Everybody is very aware.
No, it's just, I don't know if that's something that you really want in the contract, because it's, it just raises a couple red flags for me.
Okay, I believe that she's referring to, when she turns it over to the county, it's no longer confidential. She keeps it confidential until it's turned over.
And that's,
And that's normal.
and that, yes, absolutely.
That's
It's
normal.
her, she owns it until
Right.
that information is given to the county.
And just to clear something up for the record, as far as Popac attorney, the attorney's not working for Popac. It's the attorney that we hired, the county hired, who was recommended by and I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just want to clear up the record.
Yeah, and I didn't know, but,
Okay.
so, but I wanted to clarify that too, that, you know, it wasn't Lander County, it wasn't any of us that said no. It was a recommendation by legal counsel. And that's just a recommendation, but
So Art made a motion, is there a second?
I'm still chewing on it.
Okay,
Just
You wanna
making
take a
sure,
break?
making sure I understand
do
everything.
you wanna
very
take a
clearly.
break?
Sure. that'd be
So,
fine.
so we can take, what time is it? So we can
10-minute break.
10-minute break, we'll come back at,
Sounds good.
Austin going on break?
So we can have. What just happened to Rochelle on the phone? You said- Are we still on discussion?
No, there was a motion on the
there was a
floor.
motion. So, 1 second. All right, we will go back in, back in session. So, all right, so we,
Thank you.
I have a motion. I made the motion.
okay.
Yeah, the only problem is I spoke to before, I'm saying I really don't like us to see all these individual contracts or starting this type of thing. And as I mentioned, I know we don't have to go out for advertising because it is a professional contract and we can do those separately. But I do feel that in all fairness, for even the ones that have worked with us through the years, if we were going to award such a contract, we still could do that and see if somebody else wants to compete, if we're looking at cost features only. The other problem I have is entering into a contract that we want to keep really truly transparent at arm's length, and because of the relationship with our public works director on it, it's something I would like to see us stay out of. I would like to see us totally separate and let the engineers continue to hire Ms. Quintana.
Can I say something? If you did put it out, a contract out, have other people come in to try to do another contract or whatever, put it out to bid or whatever, there is nobody in Lander County that does this but me.
No, I understand that, but that doesn't mean we would be doing it just in the county. If we did.
Bert Ramus for the record. So, for the sake of transparency, since that's what we keep referring back to, since the ethics complaint is against me and it's directly affecting their business, I wouldn't mind if we got the ethics complaint out here and read it aloud to the community so they know exactly what's going on and the nonsense.
Okay, guys. So, yeah, no, that's,
Well, wait, first off, we have a motion on the floor, correct?
yeah.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so now we have further discussion.
I'm just gonna reiterate what I said is, you know, I love having a hometown person doing work. And, it's great that it is in the community, but I also agree with Patsy is, I mean, granted, yeah, it could cost the county some more money. And it does add up to a substantial amount. You know, if the numbers are correct, and I'm not saying they're not, Nettie, I'm not saying they're not, I'm not disagreeing with it, I'm just saying that we haven't, you know, looked back through the numbers and calculated things and whatnot, so we'll take your word for it. What I'm saying though is, on a, you know, completely clear level field here is, so there is absolutely no question of any kind of you know, preference or whatnot, how you wanna say it, is I think that either put it out for bid, which I don't really necessarily agree with doing contracts like this, because it usually is for the engineer to handle. Either putting it out for bid or just letting it go through the engineer, cause you know the engineer's gonna use you, yes, we're gonna pay a little bit extra, but everything's above board in play.
$180,000 extra.
I understand that, it's not pittance. We waste a lot of money, I'm not condoning that, I'm not advocating it. What I'm trying to say is we need the transparency, we need everything above board, we need, so there's absolutely no questions asked about anything.
So I have something to say. I think the common sense issue right here is if you took Mr. Ramos out of this picture at all, if he had if he didn't even exist, we would not be having this conversation. So, all right.
And then just to clarify something, again, on these costs, the cost is set by the engineer, correct? Because it's 5% or of the project.
The total project,
Of
yes.
the project, so no
5%,
matter who
so-
you get, you're coming in at a savings.
At a
with
savings,
this contract.
so basically, you're gonna give the engineer 5%. I'm gonna work for the engineer, and I'm gonna hope to get 3%.
Right,
I mean, it's a negotiation the whole time, I'm gonna hope for that.
right, so
Or
no
you're gonna
matter,
give me 3%.
right, so no matter if the engineer chooses you or they choose the company out of Elk or Winnemucca, they're still getting 5% of the project cost.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I was clear on that, okay, thank you.
Sammy Ingleson. I apparently
Excuse me.
late to the meeting, I didn't, oh,
Sheridan, you need to open it up for public comment.
Well,
If-
I thought under discussion, I go ahead and, I'm sorry, then I'll open it up for public comment.
Thank you. Just so the record.
You're right.
okay.
Go on.
I don't know what the ethic issue is. It keeps getting talked about, but I think murmurs back there where I'm sitting, we would like to hear it read out for the record, if it can be.
So, first of all, it's not on the agenda, it's not mentioned in the agenda, so we really can't discuss it. And also, typically, something like this, the ethics, it's still in the investigative stage, which means it's still supposed to be confidential information. Mr. Ramos has chosen to make it public, but it's still confidential information, and it's not part of this,
Oh, I misunderstood.
this
I thought it
agenda
pertained
item.
to it.
So,
Okay, thank you.
I know, but if you want to be recognized, you'll have to come up here so we can try to keep this.
I would like to clarify a few things. The first thing I'd like to clarify is the numbers issue. Due to the ethics complaint, we have researched the numbers thoroughly, and we have documentation to back that up. If you would like that on a future agenda to show the documentation of the savings to Lander County, I'm happy to do that on the next agenda. Number two, if Mr. Ramos would like to make it public, I know it's not an agenda item, I will go print it out in my office and I will print the copies out and put them out in that front foyer, if I get his permission.
Please make it public.
Thank you. And that comes right, that comes right from our outside counsel related to the advisory opinion by ethics. If I get Mr. Ramos's written permission, I can do that.
All right, so if there's any more public comment? Any more further discussion? There's.
Sorry, Alicia Price for the record. So I just want to make sure, if, you stated earlier, so if you, as the commissioners, did the contract, there wouldn't be an ethical issue, correct? Because you're not in any way, form, or fact related with them. So why couldn't you do that to save the county money? I mean, that's I'm a business person, I pay taxes, they pay taxes. You get penalized here all the time by people coming from out of town, bringing their money, taking their money out. It's a fight every day for a local business. I know it, he knows it, everyone in this room that owns a business knows it. So, it's a real simple solution. You guys can fix this. You can say, we're gonna make the choice. We'll leave him out because there's an issue there. It's real easy. You save the $168,000 or whatever it is, maybe more next year, you don't know, and put it somewhere else that's more useful. And I mean, I get wanting to put it out for bid with Patsy. I get that, to make it fair. But if you know for a fact you're gonna pay 2% more, I mean, it's basic numbers and economics, and you just should save the money, so, thank you.
Thank you, Alicia.
So we have a first and a second. All right, so any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Nays?
I'm gonna say nay, sorry Nettie.
Nay. All right,
So it passes.
passes
Thank you, guys.
3-2. All right, so we're going on to number 5. No, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Could you amend that to who's gonna sign it, the chair, myself, whoever,
Oh,
Art,
with the modification?
Art
Okay.
needs to amend it, and Brian needs to amend his second.
oh,
To
with
include the
who's
chair
going,
to
yes,
sign.
please amend it, who's going to,
To include the chair to sign.
Fine, I'll second that.
all right,
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that, I didn't think about that.
so are we good
Need
to
to
go on?
revote?
Yeah, and
Vote again.
Okay,
I'll vote again.
Yeah.
all right, so all in
Vote on the
favor
amendment.
with the amended?
Aye.
Aye. The nays?
Nay.
All right, passes 3-2. So we'll keep going. All right, going on to number 5. For possible action to approve, disapprove the appointment of one individual to serve on the Battle Mountain Livestock Event Center Advisory Board.
Just 1 minute, Kathy.
Oh, sorry,
My waiting just a little bit. Sorry.
they can't hear. Huh? I can. Okay. You can't hear me? Sorry.
It's also, you have to read from the background.
Okay. So you guys, if we could, so they can hear, all right, on the talking, thank you. So, all right. For possible action to approve, disapprove the appointment of one individual to serve on the Battle Mountain Livestock Event Center Advisory Board, which currently has one open term ending June 30th, 2021, and to consider all the following applicants to include Charlene Federle.
I make a motion that we approve Charlene Federle to the Battle Mountain Livestock Event Center Advisory Board with the term ending June 30th, 2021.
I'll second that one.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 6. For possible action to approve, disapprove the appointment of 3 individuals to serve on the Lander County Debt Management Commission, which currently has 3 openings, terms ending December 31st, 2021, and to consider all the following applications to include Louis Lanny, Bart Negro, Steve Steinmetz.
I would request that we do it individually.
Okay. So we'll start off with Louis Lanny.
I make a motion to put Louis Lanning on the board.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bart Negro,
I'll make a motion to approve Bart Negro.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Steve Steinmetz,
Make a motion to put Steve on the board.
I'll second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. All right. So moving on to 7, for possible action to approve, disapprove the appointment of one individual to serve on the Lander County Planning Commission, which currently has 1 opening, term ending June 30th, 2023, and to consider all the following applicants to include Steve Steinmetz.
I make a motion to put Steve on the board.
I'll second.
Any,
Question?
Yes.
In his letter, he's asking for the appointment of June 30th to 2022. And it appears that we have 2023, so I wanted a clarification of whether we're appointing him a year longer than he asked for, or,
I think that's
I
just
think
the
that was
term.
a typo.
the term is actually 2023, is that correct?
yes, ending 2023.
I don't, you'd have to ask the other department, I'm sorry.
I have to look myself and see.
Oh, I'm sorry, they're checking.
They're checking.
Okay.
Can we,
Oh. Oh, okay.
So it's, says 22. You may.
So according to our backup material for agenda item number 3, under the Lander County Planning Commission, it does say there is a vacancy, term expiration June 30th of 2022. Do we have a motion?
Do you want to second it? That's what I thought.
22.
Okay, so, do we want to amend that?
If our agenda is wrong, is that insignificant enough that we can go forward?
And
You can appoint, if you're going to appoint him, you can appoint him to the term. It doesn't have to be to June 30th, 2023. If the term does not go to June 30th,
Okay, so we need the motion
Amended.
redone, okay.
Yeah, okay,
right. So you make a motion to the term.
okay, so,
I make a motion that we appoint Steve Steinmetz and Louis Lanning to the term.
No, it's just Steve.
What?
Just Steve on this.
Just Steve.
Oh,
on
this,
this one, it says.
oh, I'm on the wrong page. I'm sorry. Just Steve. My motion is to put Steve on the board for the term, not the date.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. For possible action to approve or disapprove the appointment of one individual to serve on the Public Lands Use Advisory
No,
Planning.
that was tabled.
oh, okay, I didn't know it was tabled.
Yeah, number 8 was.
Eight's
Oh.
table?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
That was tabled before we started by the chair, the previous chair.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh.
that's
We
right.
amended
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
we need to
agenda.
get this going if we have a person that'll join, because we haven't had a
I
pull-off meeting
understand,
in
but
months.
as written, we cannot.
I know.
Okay, all right, moving on to number 9. For possible action, approval, disapproval of the Governor's Office to Innovation and Technology, GO-SIT, to send out for a request for proposal, RFP, on behalf of Lander County regarding broadband enhancement.
Morning.
Good morning, thank you so much, and for the record, my name is JoJo Myers Campos, and I'm the State Broadband Development Manager for the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology. And I do have handouts of what I will be discussing.
I'd like
We,
Yeah.
perfect. Anybody else?
Yes, please.
Has this been sent to Austin?
Sent to Austin? No. Mm-mm.
Is this in addition to our packet?
It's, yeah, it's in,
Yeah, I don't.
Thank you.
I don't believe it's in addition to the packet, I can scan it, sorry, kind of right to the record, but I'm gonna, I can scan it to Austin if you want, it's just kind of go follow along for her vocal discussion.
yes.
Do we want to send it to Austin, please?
Well,
But,
I can take it down to them, but it's just that anytime you accept information at the board meeting, we've got people in Austin that cannot follow or do not have it.
Okay.
But I'm happy to take this down afterwards,
I
but
think
so
Keith,
noted.
So, yes.
Commissioner, I think Keith is sending it right now.
All right, thank you.
Do you wanna open? Or you want me to just jump right in? I'll just jump right in. All right, thank you so much. I've already been doing a lot of work, and my whole purpose and of what I do within my position is to create, develop, or find connectivity solutions for all of the counties and cities in need, whether they be underserved or unserved, or just in the need of more in order to attract better opportunities. So we have already actually been doing quite a bit in Lander. My first meeting with Lander was August of 2018. Actually was my very first meeting, so I could really start wrapping my head around. We were getting a lot of complaints on, about the Austin school and Austin itself, and so therefore we wanted to jump in. And one of the things we always look at when I am looking at trying to provide a solution is where it all matters. And my number one is going to be economic development. My background's not just telecommunications, it's also economic development. And if you do not have what is necessary, Nevada is always in the top 3 to 5 states because we're a great business state. We have amazing abatements, amazing tax incentives, so we are always in the running. If a company then hires a site selector and says, find me somewhere to expand my company, find me somewhere that I can actually open up another office, Nevada will always be looked at. So they actually then will hire a site selector to come in. You will never ever know that you have a site selector in your town. They come in under the radar. They do not want to be bugged. They come in with a checklist. And if they do not leave with everything on that checklist with a pro, you will never ever ever hear from them again. So therefore we want to make sure if they were coming into Battle Mountain, if they are coming into Lander County, that they too will have, that Lander's going to have the same opportunities as if they are looking in Clark or Washoe or Carson. Ely's been getting a whole bunch of notice lately because they are getting connected, and so we want to do the same here. When a site selector comes in, they look at very, very basic things. They always want to make sure that they have electricity and your electrical capacity checked. They always want to make sure you have plenty of water, you have gas, your sewer is great, and you have telecommunications infrastructure. They are not interested in a wireless connection or a microwave shot. They want to be able to build a business. So economic development is always the number one reason why I want to make sure that an area or a community is viable. But you also have employment rates, municipal and community engagement, household income, and increased housing. On the next page, I'm not going to go over all of it, just some of the research that backs up some of what I've said, and on the back page actually I have all of the links to all of the articles and any of the research that I've done and that I use. And in economic development says exactly what I just said. Locations are routinely eliminated due to issues pertaining to inadequate water, gas, electric, wastewater, and telecommunications infrastructure for it. Your housing values also go up on an average of 3% if you actually have a fiber optic, and that's to any household. You have a 3% increase in your housing value. So if I go over to the digital inclusion and digital exclusion, you're either one or the other. You are either adopting a digital inclusion model or you aren't. There is no riding the fence on that. So if you are truly adopting a digital inclusion, that means you are looking for better connectivity. You want to make sure your schools, your hospitals, your public safety and such are absolutely operating with the best that they can be. You want to make sure your connectivity, your accessibility, you want to make sure that these kids in these schools cannot do digital and distance learning the same if they were in Clark or anywhere else. So you want to make sure that we have this ability. You haven't always had this ability. Now, like I said, we're making some strides already, and that's through the E-rate program. One of the things we did in Austin, November 18th, we just had a ribbon cutting in Austin. We were able to get that school. They've been operating on a T1. A T1 is 1.54 megs. When they have a booster, they could get up to 3 megs. And I give you my word, there will be no digital and distance learning with a 1.5 to a 3 meg operation. That school right now is operating off of a 100 meg connection. And so we are super pleased with that. That these kids, and now they're doing the virtual realities. All of the kids have all of the VR headsets. And they can look at 3D, like when the day we were there, we were able to see, they were looking at cells and looking at the 3D and looking at the mitoplasm. And you can see the kids taking notes and what the notes that they are taking as well. But she's also doing things with math. She's also doing pen pals, like they have a pen pal like over in China and such. So they are truly now doing digital and distance learning. One of the reasons I started with Austin is because in that meeting I mentioned in August of 2018, I was told that 2 things. One, parents had pulled kids out before and were homeschooling because they didn't think they had a very good opportunity. And the other thing is, they were looking at, well, maybe we should just close the school, maybe we should put our kids somewhere else. That's not an option. This is education, and these kids, I don't care if there's 4 kids in Austin, they still deserve the same opportunities. If they were in Las Vegas, they still deserve to have digital and distance learning in the pen pal over in China or anywhere else they have. And those kids do have that now. So I'm hoping those kids do not have to be homeschooled anymore, and they can actually be re-enrolled in a school that is perfect. And the other thing that's going to be really great about the Austin school, the other areas that isn't being used, means now the community can actually create something else as far as their community center or a technology center or a tech lab, after school tutoring, anything like that. So it opens up a door that has not been there. So I'm not going to go over the 2017, 2018, but I did just kind of put in here, this is when we started part of our E-rate process. And we only had 3 months in order to do it once we embarked. But I did put on the other page our 2019, and you can see the expansion and the work that we have done in the state for our schools and libraries. The E-rate program is actually through USAC, which is a Universal Service Administrative Company, which is directly partnered with the FCC. There is no other program anywhere out there, federally or state level, that will give you the opportunities that the E-rate program can do. Every single county has what's called a discount rate, right off the top. Lander used to be, in 2017, you only had a 60%. You have a 70% discount rate, which means anytime something goes out, like for that Austin school, and we go out for the RFP, whatever we get back and it shows what that cost is going to be, that Austin school got 70% right off the top of that entire construction build. Now I have state match. It's called the Nevada Connect Kids Initiative. So I actually put in an additional 10%, which now means they got 80% of that construction paid for. If I have a state match, the FCC has to match me. So then they put in an additional 10% as well. So they got 90% of that paid for. And then the other cool part is they get to amortize that over 4 years, what is left. And so therefore it was a win, 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 win for everyone. So now moving on to the 2020, we are actually, we put 2 RFPs already out through the E-rate program for the Austin Library and for the Battle Mountain Library. Those RFPs are actually due back today. The responses are due back today. Also went out for the middle school in Battle Mountain. Those are actually due back tomorrow. Now all of these will have direct fiber connections directly to the building. This is not a tower, this isn't a microwave shot. Each one of these entities will have 100 megs to the Austin Library, 100 megs to the Battle Mountain, as well as 100 megs is going to go to the middle school. When you start to strengthen all of your anchor institutes like this, imagine honestly what else you would be able to do through your library that you aren't able to do right now. So we are excited to see what will come back with that. You can look down at 2020 where it says the Lander Library is in a consortia with Elko and Eureka with that. So that total build that we went out for is $142,000. I will pay $14,200 of that in my office. The FCC is going to match me another $14,200 of that. E-rate's gonna pay $113,600. That only leaves the library $3,550 out of 142. They can amortize that over 4 years with that. So divided by 4, they're gonna owe $3,500 a year. That's all they're gonna owe for the next 4 years, and they will have 100 megs for that. So we are very excited with it. Now, one of the reasons we're very interested in starting with the E-rate program is because that gets you a fiber infrastructure. Let me tell you what's already happened in Austin. With that fiber infrastructure, we were able to get to the school. Sky Fiber has already signed a contract with the school district. They will be putting equipment up on top of the school in Austin that will now be able to serve the residents through a microwave shot. And being that it's a closer proximity, it will be a really, really great solution. Now that's going to happen the same way here. When you actually have the fiber infrastructure going into the Battle Mountain School, you have the fiber infrastructure going to the library, that is very, very attractive to a service provider to come in and then start serving the rest of your anchor institutes, commercial, key stakeholders, businesses, as well as your residents. So upon that, we had recommended through a couple of meetings that Lander County go out through an RFP for the county, because we already know your infrastructure is going to be here. There is no reason any of these will be denied through the FCC. You are in great need, both libraries and the school, and we have actually never been denied for anything. So with the RFP process, you go out, and that RFP, by the way, we've already written. It has already been turned over. It is ready for approval. Now, the great part is, once you go out for this RFP, there's still no obligation. There is no commitment. But we also need to make sure we're being 100% provider neutral. So I have an entire list, and I send this RFP out even to the cellular. I know they are not going to respond, the cellular providers, but again, in order to just make sure everything is transparent. It is housed on our website. It would also be on the county website. It'll be out for 60 days. We already know we have interest in providers wanting to expand the connectivity here in Battle Mountain. And so therefore, we definitely think we're going to get several bids that is going to be what we call scalable. When we write an RFP, we make sure that the service provider understands that if you start with 100 and you zap that up, that in their contract, they then will up it to 250, they will then up it to 500 or a gig if there is some interest with that. So on the other page, you'll see what I call the whole community connectivity approach. And I did put in there what we do for the tribes as well, because we also are working with your Timok tribe. That we're trying to get them a fiber connectivity to one of their clinics as well as their admin offices for a library. So I just kind of put that in there so you can just kind of see it works the exact same way, no matter if it's your library, your school, or your tribe that is here in your area. But when you get to the whole community connectivity approach, this is truly the process. You form the action committee and you gather data. And we have most certainly done quite a bit of that with it. We create actually a survey. We create a commercial survey as well as a residential survey. Now, why do we do that? That's because we can start building a business case. My job is to say, hey, Mr. Provider, this is your business case. Because all providers are going to go, what's my ROI? Well, when we show them all of the surveys, I don't have to say a word. They see their ROI. So when you look at your residential surveys, and Kyla's done an amazing job of getting the word out for this. We had 196 residents complete the survey and 46 businesses in Lander County. So that is over 200 responses that we got back. And that is a really, really great response, wonderful response. You had 27.04% say they were satisfied. You only had 27.04% say they were satisfied with their current internet connection. You had 81.12 say they experienced buffering all the time. You had 97.96 say, yep, we want faster speeds. And then you have 97.45 that would like our office to continue helping with this project. Now, that was residential. On your business side, you had 52.38 that said, yep, we are very dissatisfied. So you had over 50% of your businesses say, yep, we're dissatisfied. And it was for the same reason, by the way, as the residents. They thought the speeds were too slow, and they thought there was too much interruption within the service of the provider, the service itself. You had 92.86, oh yep, we want faster service. You had 71.43 that also experienced the buffering, had to wait and wait and wait and wait. You had 100% of your businesses say, yes, they would like for us to continue through my office, helping with whatever means we can to help Lander, Battle Mountain, and Austin get better connectivity. So this is what led us to talking with the county and saying, let's go out for an RFP. Let's just see the interest we have here in Battle Mountain. Let's see what providers are willing to do. Let's see actually what services are they offering. Is it fiber optics? Is it microwave? Is it a hybrid solution of both? Let's look and see. Also, let's look and see what we have for cost. Some service providers are willing to eat so much of the cost. Some are not. But we won't know what we're looking at until we go out for this RFP. And again, there's still no obligation on your part. There's no commitment. But you will definitely know. And then that's where it's my job to try to help find some gap funding if there is for that. And so that's what we're here for today. We would like for Lander County to go out for Battle Mountain with an RFP. So we can look, like I said, we've already written the RFP. You don't even have to do that. And so we will also help it through the entire procurement process if, in fact, we get something back and you're like, yeah, let's definitely go for that. That's going to put us a step above or 10 steps above. So that's what we're here for today, is to get the permission that we can actually circulate this RFP so we can start seeing what we would be able to do for Battle Mountain through connectivity.
Thank you, JoJo. And it's always exciting. Anytime you've got something that's moving us this way, fondly into the future, we're excited about it. I have a couple questions.
Sure.
In reading through it, you're referring to the LDAC, which is the coordination body, and I'm assuming it's very, very clear that coordination body is not a decision-making body, but that's the connection point, apparently. And I'm going, have you already identified? I see some you've got down there, Austin commissioners, chambers. I mean, do you already have all those identified for us? That's one. And the other one, and I'll just go ahead and lead into it because I see we've also got incentives that we will be doing as far as the county.
Correct.
So we might want to hit that too before
Correct.
the RFP goes out. So.
Yes, and the incentives she's talking about is the same incentives that the Elko County Commission just passed in December, and it's the same incentives that Humboldt actually just passed in December as well. And their county decision was if they got someone that was going to come in and really do a build out, and that they were, Elko actually is $5 million because they have a dollar amount. If a provider is going to come in and invest a minimum of $5 million in their county, then they will waive all permitting fees and they will expedite permitting fees within 5 days. Humboldt went with $1 million because they were much smaller and they don't have the big, because this is also included in Elko, Spring Creek, as well as all of the Elko proper. So therefore, theirs was the exact same thing, but theirs was $1 million to anyone coming in to do fiber, not microwave, but a fiber infrastructure, and investing a minimum of $1 million. They too will waive right-of-way fees as well as expedite within 5 days. That's the incentives for, and I know for some people it's like, well, would that really be big for a provider? It's huge for a provider to know, because sometimes you get stuck in that permitting process. And it's crazy. And we will always identify all of your key stakeholders. We will always identify people that would be able to benefit and the ones that would be able to also serve on our Broadband Action Committee.
Thank you. And the LBAC, the coordinating committee, would that something that
Where do you have that
you
in there?
put together or you
Yeah,
advise?
what
or-
page are you on? I just wanna make sure I'm, what page of LB's? Just wanna make sure I am answering the right thing for you.
Okay, I'm looking at page number 8,
Okay.
where it says it's the coordination.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's the Broadband Action Committee, which we've kinda already done. You've already been at meetings with that. Kathy's been at one of our meetings. We've held them here. And so, yes, that's just, and that's what I said by key stakeholders that are welcome to sit on the Broadband Action Committee. We welcome, we try to be pretty picky about who sits on that because it's called an action committee.
Okay,
I do not need any advisory.
Okay, so that's my
No.
question. Are you heading up that committee?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's my main question.
Yes, ma'am, but we also have a chair. I mean, we always have a chair. She was actually chosen. But, we yeah, she doesn't know. But she's the one actually that's been actually leading it. But, she would also be leaning on someone else. But Kyla really is the lead, but she's the one that's leaning on someone from the community as well.
Okay,
for
you have a
that.
couple from Austin.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We always want people, I always include economic development. We always want to make sure if we can't have someone from healthcare, someone that's going to be a public safety. So once we start doing that, then it becomes really, really fantastic as to all of the need. But again, it's an action committee. No one is allowed to sit on this committee if you just want to talk. I'm advised to death. I need action, and we do not do advisory, so.
It's just that in the contract, it says, here's the members, and there were none.
Yes.
And I knew you've been meeting, so I just wanted the
We
clarification.
can get that, we can definitely get that, and it's not, the people that's been there, I mean, it will continue to grow, with that.
I'd like to really quickly make kind of bright, that this is Austin and Battle Mountain that have been involved in these. It's not like a whole Lander County wide, just to kind of clarify.
Yeah, the
that.
two areas of which we're working to find, the solution.
Thank you.
Just
Okay,
wanted to move this up because we have Dr. Wilcourt here.
okay, all right,
If we could open it up for public comment.
so. Do we have,
I'll make a motion that we approve the Governor's Office of Innovation and Technology request to send out an RFP on behalf of Lander County regarding the broadband enhancement.
I'll second it.
Commissioner's point of order. The RFP includes any consideration for incentives. So,
incentives?
and in that, it's my understanding it's for fiber optics only. So if you would like to include an amount in the RFP for incentives, if you want incentives, you should do that.
Well, where are we supposed to get the
So
amount?
you said Humboldt County was a
Was a
million?
million, and I would recommend $1 million for Lander as well.
Okay,
So I'll amend my motion to include the request for incentives of up $2 million.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
I just have a clarification. Okay, when you're saying up to $1 million, are you saying it like they did? Anybody who puts in $1 million?
It should be a minimum of $1 million.
Okay, I'll amend again
I
to a
apologize.
minimum of $1 million. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Second.
Because then no one can come in with just $100.
And that's for fiber optics, only,
Okay, I
so
see.
everybody knows that.
For the fiber optics.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Oh,
We
wait a
need
minute. Oh, I'm
public
sorry.
discussion,
I'm s-
public
So,
comment.
okay, I'm sorry, public comment?
Dr. Wilcourt, please come up. Perhaps Dr. Wilcourt will be on the board for the health.
I could definitely recruit you.
I asked Dr. Wilcourt to come because he explained to me that it's not my phone that doesn't work correctly. It's because my phone doesn't get enough juice to work correctly. And now I understand it. This is Dr. Wilcourt.
Commissioners, thank you again for having me come here before you. Very patient people sitting back there as well. I'm delighted you presented what you did because that's the foundation. I don't have to go through that now, which is wonderful.
good.
Thank you so much. So I can make this very quick. one of the issues, of course, is that living in a country area, we're underserved, as you know, by many things, including transport, and this is one of them. Americans in rural areas have paid exorbitant amounts of money for their services, both in business and residences, to receive appalling signals at extraordinary prices, and then being told when they pay these extraordinary prices, for example, anywhere from $80 to $120 to $150 a month for a service that's meant to provide high-definition television, for example, to the home, that when they barely can get a picture that stays stable for more than a few minutes, that in the contract, in the fine print, it says, in terms of bandwidth, as long as we can deliver to you 1 megabit per second, even though we told you when in the big print in here, you're going to get 175 to 200, well, tough luck. You've met the requirements for our contract, and you're going to get 1 megabit per second, which is barely enough for you to be able to do a phone line connection, let alone try to get television into the home. So I'm going to concentrate a little bit on the television aspect, because residences here are appallingly, as you've done in your survey, you found out it's really appalling. 50 to 70% of people are unhappy with the service, and yet they're paying these outrageous prices. I just wanted to add a little, because you've covered it brilliantly, so I just wanted to add that the providers who are in the area are lying. I think the false advertising part of this is disgusting. You'll find that Hughes, Comsat, Spectrum, all have ads that when you type in to the search engine, internet providers for Battle Mountain, all these people come up. Then you call them up and they say, oh no, well we don't actually supply you in your area. I was recently with one service coming out of Elko. They are a good provider nationwide in many country areas. The service here was absolutely appalling. I was paying $120 a month for getting basically signal that was watchable on TV for about 20% of the time. Otherwise, I watched a black screen, and you all know what digital blocking looks like, and then the spinning wheel going round and round and round. And I was told that they were only guaranteeing me 1 megabit per second, so even though when I signed up, they said, oh yes, you'll definitely you'll be able to get 20 megabits a second, they only had to provide me with 1.
And this is Jojo, for the record, most, and what he's saying is true, and most of the most of them will have fine print and how they get by with it, even though it is appalling, as he said. It will have actually that you will get up to whatever that is, up to 20.
Yeah.
So even if he's getting 1, qualifies. And
Yes.
it's terrible, but that is how a lot of the providers get around that.
So I know that you'll probably be going out to bid, which is a really important thing, and partnering with somebody. We know now that there are many places in the rural areas that have done a service with a provider, perhaps buying a tower and leasing it back to the provider. There are traps in that one as well. One of them being that you are guaranteed a certain amount of money for the consumer is guaranteed a certain amount of money for a service, and then the second year it goes up by 2 to 3 times. So they may tell you that when you sign up you're going to be paying $40 a month, but it becomes $120 in the subsequent year, and then a decrease in the bandwidth. AT&T has been renowned for this, allowing the other service providers that they partner with to provide maybe 3 or 4 months worth of really high bandwidth to a particular consumer, and then throttle it back drastically after that. Then they come and say, well, if you pay more money, we will allow the bandwidth to go up again, and they're allowed to do this nonsense. It's absolutely appalling, but that's happening here in Battle Mountain. I know it's happened also in Winnemucca, but Winnemucca has been lucky to have a provider, NNIS, who did not provide a very good service here in Battle Mountain, but they've since upped their ante and are doing a much better job. One of the issues, of course, is that the homes are probably not going to get fibre optic. It's so darn expensive that running fibre optic to all the houses out here and then further out in the valley is probably not going to be realistic, but it's cheap to actually do either an LTE, or now we're going to have 5G coming up very shortly, to provide wireless service to the area that is highly reliable. And next to North Korea letting off an atomic bomb near us, we should have service. So that's probably going to be the way it goes.
Not LTE or 5G, that's really gonna be more for your cell phones and things like that. Because we're still talking a wireless connection, a microwave. I'm a big advocate of what's called millimeter wave.
Yep.
Millimeter wave is a very fast, dense wave, and actually, a lot of what you're talking about, what it won't do is, it won't go through objects, but see, millimeter wave could actually go through a tree, it's not just line of sight.
Right, so you don't have the
And
barrier.
correct, so in a smaller area, millimeter wave is super beneficial because you're in a closer proximity of everything. But yes, I mean, I still would like to see 5G here, your LTE and things like that, but if we're gonna go wireless, then I would definitely recommend more of a millimeter wave with closer repeaters together, so you wouldn't get the buffering and you will still get the fast, dense wave
Correct.
to the house.
And a good bandwidth.
Yes.
Question, so that's how the residential will be served in Battle Mountain? Is through
I
the-
don't know, well, we're gonna wait for the RFP to come back, I am hoping, yes, I mean, that's like one of the things, y'all just have, Hal Humboldt, actually as of last month, there's a company out of Pennsylvania that just bought out part of Calneva, they also bought out all of Satview, and the company is called Zito, Z-I-T-O Media. They are very interested in Battle Mountain as well, because they bought a lot of the transmission lines. And if you look up Zito Media, you will see their transmission lines across the entire US are extremely robust and really good. So I'm hoping Zito will be one of the ones to answer, because last month, anyone that had 20 megs with SatView immediately overnight got bumped to 100, because that is their transmission lines.
Dr. Wilcourt, might you have time in the future to help out with this?
Certainly, it's an area of great interest to me, not just because of the medical aspects.
Well, you're more than welcome to sit on the committee.
Right, great.
Would love to have you there.
Thank you very much, and I really like your dragonfly pin.
Thank you.
That's very good. That's all I have to add to that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you
And
for providing me with a great base.
Okay, great.
Any more public comment? Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
Thank you very
guys.
much. Thanks for coming, Doc.
Pleasure.
It's down there at the phone. We're on 10 though.
That's,
Kathy,
yes.
5-minute break.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and you guys take a 5-minute break. Oh, wait a second. Hold on, Art, 1 second, please. What's going on? Oh,
Oh, they did, they all put it approved?
we have a gentleman that's been waiting for us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do this one.
Please hold while I try that extension. Good afternoon, Speak.
Hi, Pete, this is Brian Sparks with Lander County Commission. You're on the phone?
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, we're gonna move on to number 10 under buildings. Update and information regarding the structural stability of 67 Main Street, Austin, Nevada, 89810, formerly known as the Austin Youth Center, as presented by Dube Group.
So you guys got the Anna Panola with the building department, you got the report from the debate group. And just looking for, I have Pete on the phone, if you have more questions, then it's in the memo, but where do you guys wanna go? What do you wanna do?
Actually, thank you, yeah, this is Pat. Hi Pete, this is Pat, how are you?
I'm great, Commissioner Wade, how are you?
Thank you. In looking at, I guess what we need to do is, I thought your email was quite conclusive. You're saying it's $300,000 to start with if we're going to look at some options of saving the building and what part can be saved, some of the stone structure, et cetera. But unfortunately, this is not an action item, so it's just something that we need, no, it's not.
Just updating information.
Just an update information.
Yeah, so we need to see how we'd like to go and then put it on for action. And I was kind of,
I don't, okay.
yeah, I was kind of disappointed on why we aren't doing it all at once, but it's okay. So, just basically, like I said, we have your email, but just go ahead and, kind of reframe that for us. You be okay and your construction crews that you brought out to look at it are all okay for doing something like that? But how long would it take?
Well, wait, I wanna clarify, the building is not gonna be saved.
There's just some stone area.
Pete, can you elaborate, please?
Correct. So, again, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but when we went out there, we were hopeful that we would be able to give you some options for incremental repairs, sort of like a small, medium, large. But I think it was the consensus of the group out there that we unfortunately concurred with the prior two reports, and that there's, it's not very cost effective to try and shore up the building. So at this point, I think the most cost-effective solution is to remove the existing roof structure and the floor structure and the wood-framed walls, but just retain the original, the historic rock pile walls, the brick walls, and the brick parapet. And then we could come in with a new concrete slab on grade, had concrete footings, build up new wood-framed walls, and then just lay in new prefabricated wood trusses. This would, the floor would all be on one level. We could, plumbing, new accessible restrooms, there'd be new plumbing, mechanical, electrical. The contractor that was out there with us, which is Central Sierra, again, it's not a bid, but he was part of our team to help us evaluate it. He tentatively, he said we'd be looking at roughly $300,000 to rebuild the structure, retaining the original historic fabric that we could retain.
That does include bringing up the bell tower and the facade and everything.
It would include that. We would either rebuild or restore. I'm not sure what condition the bell tower is, but that's, that would be a significant architectural element that we would like to, restore back to its original look.
Absolutely. If we're going to do it, we need the bell tower on. That's the biggest part of it, historically.
And the reason that I sent the email to Anna is that we were going to do a report, and there was a whole lot more money that was going to be expended to try and give you a few options and scenarios. We don't feel comfortable. I mean, there's really only one option, and so we just wanted to stop at where we were at and have you decide what you wanted to do, because this was a little bit, I think the path forward is different from what our fee proposal was to do, and I don't think that there's a reason to spend the money, candidly.
Thank you.
So, one of my thoughts on this is that, since it's basically not salvageable and all they are basically using is the stone work on the outside, that we would look at this the same way that we look at the courthouse. And if there's an organization that wants to go out and on the historical side of it to get grants and things like that, for these costs, I think that might be a suggestion or an idea to look at it that way, because that's what we did with the courthouse. We asked that we have another organization do that instead of the county dumping a bunch of money into that. And my suggestion is to look at that the same way. If they want to have a historical group look at it and see if they can continue to get money to fix up that building.
Does Austin have a 501c3 organization down there?
I don't think so.
I guess not.
No, hopefully they'll get one.
And there's nothing wrong with an organization coming together for this specific project.
No.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
No, the situation will bring forth a need, and hopefully we'll get some volunteers.
So one of my questions is, in talking with the Historical Society in the state, actually, there are some grants available to counties also
That is correct.
for this type of thing. So we could take it on and look for grants.
through the county.
And my
But if we-
recommendation would be that we can start seeing if there's a 501c3 that might be interested, but we'll also bring it back to the commission at budget time for further discussion. And if we don't have a 501c3 that's interested, is the county interested, is this commission interested in moving forward with the building and putting it into the budget for future?
Ted,
Yes, sir.
could Austin hitchhike on the 501c3 that Colt and Amy have? for
No.
the- Okay,
No, but
it's
if the
specific.
building is, if you decide to do the building, hopefully it will persuade an organization to come together and form a 501c3. Right now, there's no active 501c3, but there's no building for them to use, so that's understandable.
Okay.
The other concern was maybe if the county and maybe Keith or Anna or somebody can actually contact SHPO and see what, if we took it on as a county, what we would need to do, or so we can look at which is better and which way to go, would we have it on an action item. But are you all comfortable with the architect as far as information, or do you
Absolutely.
have any other questions from
No,
Pete?
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll put it on again after a little bit of research, right?
All right, yes.
Okay, thank you, Pete.
Thanks,
Thank
Pete.
you very much.
Thank you.
Take a break.
All right. 5-minute break, guys. Thank you.
Adjourn?
Adjourn. I'm very nervous, and this will get better. Just
call it back to order. You're doing
we're going back to order. Give me a little while, and it'll be going back to order. So we're on number 11.
I'm gonna get Brian on the phone.
Okay, I'll let you do. Go ahead and do that.
Hello, this is Brian.
Hi, Brian, it's Brian with Lander County Commission, you're on the phone?
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
All right, we're gonna go on to number 11. For possible action to approve, disapprove a parcel map application for Brian Estep to combine two parcels into one parcel located at 184 and 190 Gilman Circle in Gilman Springs. APN 004-033-19 and 004-033-20 zoned A1.
Kyla Bright, planning coordinator for the record. Just a little background information. This is being combined due to the residents being on one parcel and the well on the other. It was noticed in the Battle Mountain Beagle on December 4th and was approved before the Planning Commission on December 18th.
Go ahead.
Make a motion.
Oh, yeah, can you hear us?
I can hear somebody in the background, but not very well.
All right. 1 second.
I'll make a motion that we approve the combination of the two parcels into one parcel located at 184 and 190 Gilman Circle.
I'll
Gilman Springs, APN number 004-033-19 and 004-033-20 zoned A1.
And I'll second that motion.
And do I need to authorize the chair to sign the Mylar?
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have one question. How did you get the well on one and the house on another?
I'll let Ryan answer that.
It happens quite frequently, yeah, actually, because
Really?
they own all those properties. It's happened in several areas, not just in Gilman and.
That's just pretty darn strange, isn't it?
Kind of, but we haven't been combining properties at Gilman. And so when they look to us for wells, we've done some really strange things. Even the state engineer has allowed us to consider some areas that have been common land next to it if they didn't have the full acre. So there's lots of exceptions. But this is gonna be easier for him to sell and it's all combined and it should be the right way.
It is Lander County.
Yep, it's Lander County, yep.
Any other discussion? All right, no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, passed.
Okay, thanks, Brian, you're all good.
Thanks much.
Bye-bye.
You bet.
Bye, thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to number 12, for possible action to approve, disapprove a parcel map application for Thomas and Tonya McKenzie to split one parcel into two parcel properties located in the east 1/2 of the northeast 1/4 of section 31 township, 32 north, range 46 east in Battle Mountain, APN 011-250-20, zoned A2.
Again, Kyla Blight for the record. This applicant is splitting one parcel of 35 acres into two parcels, one at 25 plus or minus, and parcel B at 10 acres, to be able to sell that 10 acres. The item was noticed on the Battle Mountain Bugle December 4th and was approved before the Planning Commission on December 19th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the parcel map application for Thomas and Tanya McKenzie to split one parcel into two parcels located in the east half of the northeast quarter of section 31, township 32 north, range 46 east in Battle Mountain, APN number 011-250-20, zoned A2, and authorize the chair to sign the Mylar.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
This is wrong in the book.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was just me or.
Okay. So, going on to number 13, update and information regarding the status and progress of the Lander County Lands Bill.
Again, Kyla Bright, planning coordinator for the record. Myself and Keith and a few others have been working with our lobbyists trying to get this settled to where it can be introduced in front of the House and the Senate. We received word today that sounds like Amity is going to introduce it by the end of this month. So in your packet, you see a map. This was a draft map. We being Keith and I, sat down on the big screen and went through this with the lobbyists, asked them to bring it down to show just Lander County, not the whole BLM district. Also to take out the pink outlines there. You see that is the disposal areas. We didn't really find a need for those on there. Asked them to add in a couple things. We should be getting that back here shortly. I have a meeting with them this afternoon at 2 to get an update as far as how talks went with Amade and Rosen. So that's pretty much all I have for that. It's going forward nicely. There hasn't been very many hitches. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is that the draft language was sent forward to Amade's office and was returned with no suggestions on it. So it kind of points to it being a good draft, a good write-up from our lobbyists. Any questions?
Pretty straightforward.
Thanks, Gal.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyla, good job.
You holding up?
All right, we'll move on to number 14 for possible action to approve, disapprove one or more sites for the development of a proposed Lander County-owned industrial park.
I'm not quite sure how to go through this process with you guys. I was asked to go back to the drawing board because I was hitting a brick wall with the FAA and trying to get things done, not just the FAA, but also with getting background of the parcel, getting a detailed parcel, how would you call it, review done to make sure if there was any clouds on the title or if there was issues, and we hit a brick wall. So I was asked to go back to the drawing board with of course the committee that was helping in the first place to choose some good places around Battle Mountain that would be suitable for an industrial park that we can start now rather than waiting for possible unforetold time. In your packets, it's a book, and I'm sorry for that, you have information regarding each parcel, the size of the parcel, visibility, the access to, and then it goes even deeper. Day Engineering went through and put together these utility cost summaries for each piece of land. Again, even more detailed, showing you exactly what they would be putting in on that piece of land and what our cost would be. The cost, like it says on each front page, does not include fiber, telephone, or land purchase, or some of them include land purchase costs and some don't. You have a total at the bottom of each first page of each packet for your consideration. I spoke with many different department heads, our manager, our committee, along with NNRDA, kind of to get some ideas, along with owners of some of the parcels, to get some idea of what order this should have gone in. Yes, I did put it in the order. This is my order, but based off of the information I gathered from everybody else of suggestions. And I don't know if you want me to go into detail on each and every single one through
Not
this
first.
discussion? Okay.
Not yet. Maybe they do later.
Okay.
But no, I have some concerns because when I came on LEDA, you had already actually started this. And when I can recollect everything that came before the board, I don't think we've ever voted per se. We just put it in the budget. Right? But we have never really looked at this. And I looked to advisory groups to kind of narrow it down, number one. This is very time consuming, and I appreciate all the work you've done and what you've done, but I truly think that I would look to LEDA to at least narrow it down to a couple for us. Anyway, having said that, since I came on board a little bit late, my first question is, do we really need this? And I don't know, like I said, it hasn't been really discussed in depth with the commissioners at all, but I would like to know, like a market analysis of the, industrial market and what the vacancy rate is, because I know in one of them in here, the vacancy rate that we're looking at next to Clark's is high, and it's been high. So, have we done that? Did we do that originally?
No, we have not done.
We've never done a
for
market
here.
analysis?
What? Yeah, no, not for locally, no, we have not.
Okay, because that would be one of the things that I would like to see, why we need it and what the vacancy rate is. Because I know other counties that still have industrial parks that are empty, and they have a lot more offering than we do. So I don't want to jump the gun, I don't want to be late on everything, but I want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row first. So that would be one of my suggestions, and then taking it back once we see that, and having you guys narrow it down a little bit for us, and do the few hours that it's gonna take, and maybe, with our chair sitting on LEDA, that might help a little bit too now.
I would have to say I agree with Patsy. You know, you've got in one of your options is the Clark Industrial Park, which we already have, and of course, I don't know anything about what these people coming in might want. I don't know if their size is adequate, if they need more room. But just showing that it's still an option, there is availability. You know, once we kind of use up all of that space, then maybe looking to the future for another industrial park. But these things, you're talking about a lot of money, and I really hesitate to go spend the money and put something in that nobody's gonna use. I'm not opposed to it, I'm just, you know, I don't think it's, you know, one of those things, if you build it, they will come necessarily.
When we discussed this last time, I didn't hear these notes of disappointment about this project. I remember the conversation, we are going to prepare for the future because growth is coming our way. That's what I thought this was about.
And
That's what we discussed, the future. Because growth is coming our way, whether we like it or not. Look at Fernley, look at Lovelock, look at Winnemucca. And our land is relatively inexpensive compared to other people. Now, our taxes are high, but our infrastructure's good.
Paula Tamara, I'm a member of the Lander County Economic Development Authority, and we brought all of them before you without regard of who the landowners are, whether they were Lander County property versus private ownership, just maybe to get a direction from you on where you would like to go. Is there an area that you would like to not have the economic develop, or you know, have the industrial park at, based upon, for instance, down 305, you know, with the, we already have an issue with the traffic here at the corner. Is there an area you wanted us to focus more on? I do believe there is a need for it. Over by Clark's is light industrial, which is something, more of the things that we're looking at is, might be a heavier industrial sites, and so we just, more so, our group needed a direction on, you know, is there anything that you want us to exclude based upon the area, or, you know, would you like us to look to private lands, only keep Lander County lands? The direction kind of is what we need. I do feel there is a necessity for it, though.
So the airport lands are, that's out of the question? Or we're just kind of snafu'd on it, just?
I would like to continue working towards that goal, it being a further out goal, but in the time being, if you remember the last time that we came before you just to kind of talk about the airport industrial park, some of the things we said as far as some of the places closer to us are filling up, they might have one spot, and some further out, they might not have anybody. You know, that is the chance you're gonna take. However, when these people come to Sheldon within an RDA, or, which is very rare, myself, and they ask for an area, this is what we do, this is what we need, this is where we wanna be, and I say, well, we have sagebrush land for you, you know, or something to that extent, to be blunt. Not being prepared for the people that send in those requests, not even being able to send out our information to them because we don't have anything. That is the point of this, is to actually be in the game. We don't have any chess on the chessboard. Going to that piece over there for Clark's Park, it is smaller parcels. They're 1 acre parcels, smaller buildings. They're not a heavier use. However, all of these are on here to become Lander County owned, not a privately owned park. And the purpose, one of the main purposes for that is our marketing. It's really hard to market for a private owner being an NRDA or being a county entity. We can't show that favor or start bringing people, we can say, yeah, there's this place over here, of course. But when you have something that's owned by us that we can place incentives on and actually start marketing and bringing those people into, that's really the goal. We need that shovel-ready area. So that's what I have.
We very possibly lost an industry because we didn't have a county-owned industrial park. If we had a county-owned industrial park and we had a facility on there, we very well may be producing military vehicles right here in Battle Mountain. So that was another thing on my mind. We lost a chance for an industry to come in here.
Where did that one go, Art? Where did they go? You know?
They just,
So my question like that, how would you build to suit, like, I would imagine that's a pretty big thing, you know, so it's like, how do you know when you're, or are you just talking about having the infrastructure in?
Exactly. All we're talking about is getting infrastructure too. So I'm not asking you to parcel it down into 5-acre parcels, 10-acre parcels, getting the each place hooked up. I just want to get the water to site, the gas to site, sewer to site. That way when they come in, we have 100 acres here, let's say, give or take, and we have restrictions on what we will accept into that park and incentives for the people coming in based on what kind of capital they're putting in or how many employees they're gonna have, things of that sort. Then they will bring that water, that sewer, everything to where they need to be in their parceled piece of land that we'll parcel out for them as they come, let's say. But that's where the incentives come in as well.
I would say, I mean, as far as directions, I believe we should be addressing our own property, our own assets. You know, what the lands that we currently hold, rather than going out and buying new lands, or, that's my thought on it, so.
that'd be the least expensive to do the project.
Right.
One second, please. Go ahead.
So Kyla, I'm just curious on this number 1 for the North Battle Mountain Rail. And you also have on there land purchase cost, or it does not include. I know we spoke about it the other day, I thought that was part of Lander County land. How much would we have to purchase?
So if you look on, I did not number these pages, I'm very sorry, but the parcel detail that's in here, the second page, you'll see that there's a little 60-acre piece that just kind of finishes off that little triangle out there that is owned by Sozo Youth Sanctuary. It doesn't have to be that way, it just kind of finishes off the little piece there. So I added it in just because.
Okay, and I wasn't aware of, like I said, I didn't know size-wise what Clark's had and whatnot. And with Brian thinking about developing our own, this one actually makes a lot of sense because it does have rail access, which I think is very beneficial.
The one part that is not also included in this price, as you'll see, is an actual rail spur in there. So right now, this is just as an industrial park. It would be nice eventually to make it a rail industrial as well.
And with that being said, I mean, if somebody comes in and they're interested, they can also flip the cost for that spur, because those are, very pricey.
The other thing to consider on that too, being north of town, is similar to like what we're experiencing right now with just the Maverick, is what does that industry bring in and what is it going to, as far as congestion, traffic, I mean, it's all, right there, yeah, exactly, so it's, I think that's something that needs to be looked at as well.
Absolutely.
I agree. Go ahead.
One of the things, like Brian mentioned, and thinking about that is that one isn't really a bad spot for truck congestion, because, it's already by the truck stop. The road's pretty wide through there, and it's kind of out of the main part of town, so I think that's appealing in that it wouldn't be as bad of congestion for similar areas.
So when we're saying North Battle Mountain, we're talking now going towards coastal Ken, right?
It's actually
Just
along the
Off the left.
rail off to, if you're looking at the sewer plant, it's off to the left. There's a little triangle in there that actually belongs to the tribe, and they're considering doing something similar with that little area, and then ours would be from there out for that, however many acres.
So Kyla, would it be kind of, I mean, alongside the freeway from the state DOT yard back towards Battle Mountain? Or is it, you know, I mean, kind of parallel with the freeway?
Yes. May I?
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell in the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
No, very hard.
So, on these, on this one, where it's highlighted,
All right.
go with the Lander County Assessor's map. If you look right down here, this little kind of swoopy road, can you see it down there at the bottom? That's the tribe. So if you go right across from there, that's where you're gonna have, drilling and then crossing over there.
Okay.
So if you just right on the road, right where you
Oh,
cross.
so we're not talking out North Battle Mountain?
Not north
No.
Battle Mountain,
Okay,
no.
all right.
It's over here,
I see. I got
not
you.
north Battle Mountain, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
it's
No, you're
west. So it's kind of more northwest, I guess.
Yeah, I see.
you would
Okay.
consider. Okay. So yeah, that is the colony's sewer, their plant there,
Right here?
their ponds.
Okay.
I wanted to clarify too that, there was mention that it would be cheaper to use, Battle Mountain or Lander County lands. Actually, if you look through, some of the other options are more, feasible, I guess.
Just because of
Financially,
infrastructure costs or?
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't take out the fact that some of these places are in inconvenient areas. But the price, I just wanted to clarify, it is cheaper on some of the other lands.
I have another question.
So, I kind of agree with Patsy about narrowing this down. So I'll make a motion that we request you and the people involved to go through this and make some recommendations and come back.
How many?
Does that work for you?
How many recommendations would you guys like to see?
We would like the top 3 art maybe?
Yeah, top 3's good. And then, you know, why you chose those 3. I trust you, Kayla, you're doing the.
Is that an
you're doing a good
amendment
job.
to your motion?
Is that,
Did you amend
That's
your
my
motion? You made a motion and then you talked some more, so was that part of the, are you amending your motion?
No, the motion is.
Does
for-
it include the top 3?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
I amend my motion to include the top 3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Ryan?
I'll second the motion.
Bert, I've got a question for you. Correct me if I'm wrong, in my memory. I thought at one point, you had talked about part of this water line going out Yellow Brick Road and then down Allen is putting another line across to, basically over Front Street. You know, somehow or other getting a main line. Does that ring any bells with you?
No, are you talking about us, moving the sewer from Echo Bay here to and dumping it over towards Allen Road to alleviate the sewer system on this side? Is that, are we talking about
Was it-
water or are we talking about sewer?
Well, and that's it, clarification, maybe it was the sewer. Maybe it was sewer, cause I know at one point you talked about having a line, I don't know how, getting under the freeway to tie in or something. Like I said, am I confused on that?
The sewer.
Yeah, we do have a sewer main line that'll be running from out there where White Knife project is, straight across to our sewer plant. And that will take all the sewer of Echo Bay, or the vast majority of it, that way to alleviate our sewer system that's almost at capacity on this side of town, so we can expand out here, behind the courthouse and back towards the golf course.
Okay, so that was sewer, because I was just kinda curious on, option number one, you've got over $8.5 million. And, I didn't know if that project could be incorporated in it to cut costs. Cause now on this, you've got a new lift station. Like I said, I was wondering how your previous projects that you discussed with us, how that could relate to this parcel.
Where's this one located at? I apologize, yeah, that one, it doesn't really, it's on the opposite side of the freeway from where our sewer plant is. I mean, I don't see that it,
But that was what I was curious, cause I thought at one point you talked about, running a line under the freeway. And,
I think I understand. So, I'm sorry, where the sewer plant is, where they're dumping into, it's so far, west of that compared to where they're going under the freeway, I think the cost issue is we're gonna have to put another sewer main out to that project out there and put a lift station.
Okay.
Because it's in location-wise, two totally different areas, too far apart from each other.
okay, that makes sense then. That's what I didn't quite understand was, I didn't know for sure where that line was going under the freeway or what, but
Yeah, it's a lot further.
yeah, it
East.
seems like a lot. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Is there any public comment?
Jay Whipple.
Director.
As Kyla said, some of these projects are being on property will cost more than they would for the infrastructure. The other one, I'd like, probably give her some recommendation, do we want this built where we don't plan on having it on sewer and making a standalone sewer system? Was the other question that kinda come up when we sit through these meetings. I sit on a lot of these meetings, they sit through.
So,
Maybe give them some filling there, like the ones out by the airport was gonna have a standalone ponds and that, cause it's too far to feasibly reach by putting it into our sewer plant.
so just to go off of that, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 6 and number 8. If you wanna write those down or not, to have a look at those would be the ones that you'd be looking at that could connect into our sewer system.
That could connect into our
Yes,
sewer system.
but there wouldn't have to be upgrades to them,
I would think if we're
but yeah.
bringing in an industry, right, we'd want the hookups and the reoccurring sewer fees and
Water line.
water hookups, yeah.
More public comment?
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning,
Thanks for
commissioners.
waiting so patiently.
Sheldon Mudd, Director for NNRDA. I just wanted to make a few points. You know, this initially came up because we said our job's to market the area, and the more we have things like this, certainly the easier it is for us. On a professional basis, that's what I'm after, but I am a resident of Lander County, so I am concerned about the costs as well. Everything everybody brought up today was, the points I felt were well taken. Just a few things to think about as we go through this process. Number one, I think Kyla's order there, from what I can see, is it makes a lot of sense to me, based off of all the check marks you want when it comes to industrial parks and so forth. But with that said, I'll give you some examples around the region. Wells built an industrial park over 10 years ago-ish, and they're just now getting ready to have their first building built on it. And it's a good one too, there's no doubt about it. So the old adage, if you build it, they will come, that's not the case. That's not always the case. Now, with that said though, I will say this, that we've had a couple of leads in the area. We don't have as many as I'd like, but we have had a couple, and Clark Park was not able to accommodate them. With that said, if there is a private industrial park in the area, I don't like to see government competing with them. So I told Eureka County, you guys have J Park Rail Terminal in the north end of your county. There's no need to build a park in your area. I'd recommend not doing that. But with that said, is when you look at those things that need to tick on an industrial park, you have to ask yourself, is the private park meeting the needs of the area? And in some ways it might, but in other ways it might not, and that's where you might want to get involved in that process. There are creative ways to go about this too. I don't think we need to look at these numbers and say, okay, if we vote on this automatically means $8 million out the door, right? I think there are ways that we can market it. We can do estimates, market studies. We can even develop some renderings of what we think this thing should look like. Now that's going to cost a little money, but it's not $8.5 million. But we have something we can market, something we can show to potential industries. And when they come in and say, we like the looks of that, and we like the location, and it meets our needs, then the county can incentivize that to some degree and say, okay, now we'll pull the trigger and spend the money. Now obviously you'd have to earmark some of that cash and so on, but then you're not in the same position as somewhere like Wells that put all this money up front and are only now starting to see some of that return. It'd be a situation where we have the cash on hand. If you're the company that we're looking for, or if a company comes to the table and says, I want to be there, okay, we can have this ready for you in 2 to 3 months. And now we can start spending the money when we have a customer. So I guess what I'm getting at is don't get wrapped around the idea that we're going to pick a spot and we're going to drop millions of dollars. I don't think that's a very good idea personally. But I think there are ways we can set it up, and through working with LEDA and associated groups, I think we can develop some sort of package that when that Department of Defense group comes in and says, I want to be here, or if it's some processing plant or whatever, I want to be here, well, then we can say, we can incentivize that and we can offset some of the costs and we can put this together for you if you agree to a lease for X amount and so many jobs, and gives us some bargaining chips, right? And it allows for some flexibility. So, this is the beginning stage, but here's what it does do, is by picking a location that we're going to focus on and putting some effort towards it, it shows, just like Commissioner Clark stated, it shows that we're looking to the future. We have a vision. Somebody comes in and they say, okay, these guys have done their due diligence and they're ready for us. So those are just a couple of comments I would make as we come to the table. And any questions about any of that? Wonderful. Oh.
Thank you. Well, I don't have a question for you, possibly Sheldon, and thank you for that. Either Keith or Kyla or Cindy maybe. We set some aside already in last year's budget for this. And I thought initially it was like talking 15 million, but could go up. What do we have set aside now?
The 7 million, I believe.
7.5.
7.5.
Okay. So, I mean, I know some of these numbers are a little scary, but we've already sort of set some of it aside.
May I clarify on that? The discussion that you remember, it was the possibility of spending up to 15 million. And so you guys had decided to do half of that and then the possibility of adding the other half after that first couple phases was through. I don't think a single one of these comes more than a little bit over that niche that's already previously put aside.
Public comment?
So sit down or?
And state your name for us, please.
Dusty Ship. So I'm, just found out about this week, so I've been pondering this thing a little bit. I actually came in to, meet with Kyla this week to see what it would take to do one of these. I'm a developer and a builder over in Elko and own about a dozen businesses over there. And we came over here a year ago trying to find a piece of property to do our business on. And in that process, I have to say it was very challenging to find a piece that had utilities, had access, and we were looking at down dirt roads with bringing everything in ourselves to try to make something work. So we're involved in the number 4 item, Allen Road, and I actually came into the office this week to find out, as I'm building this first building that we're doing, we're looking at some expansions already. I've already got some ideas from other businesses that we want to bring in. And so the question came in, what if I build it to county spec, bring in the water lines that we need, build the roads the right way so that it could become an industrial park? Would there be some county co-op stuff there, asking questions, and then lo and behold, this is on the agenda this week. So we've already got a piece of property there that we're working on potentially trying to do something with as an industrial park. And we are, I think it fits everything. It's got almost all the utilities. If they're not there, they're close. And we're already building it. We broke ground on the road already, and we've got ideas for expansion already. So we could be maybe your first tenants on your portion of it. So I don't know if you want me to get in deeper. I've got a whole list of things, and but it doesn't sound like you're quite ready to make decisions. So.
Thank you, Dusty, very much for your information. And yes, it's very timely. And what I would recommend is if you're that close to it, that we agendize on the agenda and you guys meet ahead of time on what you'd like to do and bring that before us for just that one item. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't do something else. It doesn't mean we wouldn't, that yours is in lieu of everything else. But it means something we'd like to consider. Does that sound right? So I mean, because you're looking at some incentives from the county, right? Like what would we like to do? So if you're gonna do it as an industrial park, or you'd like us to, I'd say that doesn't preclude what all we're doing. I just wanna do that separately.
Well, I was just thinking that because this is a 440 acre parcel that we have, and the portion that you guys are looking at would be 100 acres of that. So it would kind of be, we'd be building it together in essence, and because in development, what happens is a lot of times with all building, there's an excitement that happens. As soon as the first building breaks ground and things start happening, everybody wants to know what's going on, and it kind of feeds into more development. And so since we're already started there, it might be, instead of waiting like the 10 years like you were saying to get something going, we're already bringing some and we're looking at bringing some more. It might be a good.
Right, and that's why I'm saying I think I'd like to address that separately with what you're doing. Does that sound right for an agenda item? I mean, the
Are you
developer
talking
comes
about-
in and wants to
because we
talk to
still
us,
have
right?
a first
About
and a
this
second motion
specific
on
area.
this.
Right.
So I'd say, yeah, right, because right now, I don't think we're ready to just choose something. And so, but I don't want to preclude what you're already doing. I wanna address that separately.
So hold on for me for 1 second. We have, so do we want to, is that something that we need to do, is look as, deal with this on a separate issue and move forward on what, we have a first and a second?
Yeah.
At this time? Because his part doesn't have anything to do with this part of the agenda, so we need
His
to.
part
It does though.
takes
Okay.
place by one of
Okay.
these choices,
Right.
and Kyla
Okay.
could include information when it comes back to the board.
I think
Okay.
that it does need to be done in here unless this is not in the top three.
Right.
Right.
Pretty much, if this doesn't come back in the top three, then he can come back
Okay.
as a separate item
see.
to discuss some kind of, workings with the county on trying to create his industrial park out there. But this is a piece that we looked at as an industrial park, and then he came in 2 days ago and started asking me about an industrial park, and I went, oh, is this what you're talking about? So that's why he's here asking, because if he was gonna put in roads and he was gonna put in water lines and things, he wanted to make sure that they were up to these standards.
Okay.
So,
Alright, so we have are we good on discussion for right now? Because we have a first and a second?
We need to vote.
Was there a second to that?
I second it.
Yeah,
Brian
Brian
seconded.
seconded it. So if we're good on discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, with that then, like I said, it'll be a while before they meet. So if Beth is ready to bring it forward, we still can do it separate. Doesn't mean we wouldn't like what he was doing and maybe even do some incentives for him, separate to what else we're doing if it is or isn't in the top three, because we won't know. And if he's anxious to put it on the agenda before they come back with it, I'm okay with that as an agenda item. Just work with our county manager on what you'd like to do.
Okay,
Okay?
so we're all in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
I voted yes.
Yeah, I'm just making sure, all right, so that passed. All right, so number 15 on finance. For possible action to approve, disapprove a letter of corrective action to be sent to the Department of Taxation addressing the audit findings, and to approve the chairman, vice chair, or county manager to sign.
So this is our letter of corrective actions that we're required to submit to the Department of Taxation, and do your review and modification or acceptance as you see fit. If you would like the chair to sign it, we'll just redo the letter and change it to the chair or vice chair signature.
Kathy? I'll make a motion, we approve the letter of corrective action to be sent to the Department of Taxation addressing the audit findings, and to approve the chairman or vice chairman or county manager to sign.
All right, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I'm just kinda curious, this back page stating those voting aye, is that,
We have a new one,
I gave it to Sadie.
yeah, and we fixed the back page to show just commissioner with lines, and,
did we also correct my name spelling?
Oh, yeah.
we will correct that,
Thank
apologies.
you.
So, any further discussion?
Oh, I'll second.
We have, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, passed. All right. All right, so on correspondence, reports, potential upcoming agenda items.
I have a list in my office that I can look at real quick if you like,
I'll just put it on the agenda.
Alright,
or we can go over it. at
okay,
agenda setting.
alright, so that,
My question is, let me look at my notes here. Does the commission want to see the cost savings related to the, testing materials over the last year or 2, 5 years? How would you like to see that, or would you like to see that?
I don't think it's really pertinent now.
Well,
I mean,
it was
we've approved the
brought up,
contract.
and it was, in my opinion, misstated, so I did say I would bring it forward to show the cost savings. If the commission would like it, I'll put it on the agenda, if not, I just want the commission's input on it.
right now, I think that if you wanted to put something together and throw it in one of our buses boxes, I don't know if it's something that needs
Okay.
to come back in fund, just so we
That's fine.
have that information. Alright,
All right?
And I'd like to say for clarification, you know, whether you felt it was misstated, I wasn't aware, so I don't know. I wasn't misstating intentionally, I just was not aware of any comparisons.
so, are we good? Alright. So for public comment, for non-agendized items only, persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend and make comments on any non-agendized items at the board meeting, if any, and discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again, at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comment based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based on viewpoint may not be restricted. So do we have any public comment? Alright, so,
Motion to adjourn?
can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you guys for your patience. Holy
Real
cow.
quick, real quick,
Bye, thank you.
the last commission meeting, the money for the